Good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you may be around the world, and welcome to Splendid Isolation number 256. As always, to give people time to join the stream, etc., I'm going to start us off with a nice tune.
Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need. To wait in heavy harness on flooded folk and wall. Your new gods sullen peoples have devil and have child. Take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threat of terror and check the show of pride. By open speech and simple, 100 times made plain, to seek another's profit and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for others sought, what's love that heed and folly? Bring all your hopes to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports ye shall not enter, the roads ye shall not tread. Go make them with your living and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden and reap his soul's reward. The blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard. The cry of those ye humor are slowly towards the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, our loved Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden, ye dare not stoop to less, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave or do, the silent, sullen people shall wail gods and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days, the lightly profit laurel, the easy ungrudged praise. Come thou to search your manhood through all of thankless years. No age with give aught wisdom, the judgment of your peers. Take off the white man's burden through all of thankless years.
Of course, Chris Gard. If you like good music, go and check out Chris Gard's channel on YouTube. And you can also go follow him on X, on Twitter, where we are also live as we speak. Could I also ask people in the audience if you would be kind enough to hit the like button, please? The little thumbs up button takes you a second, but it really does help the channel because it gets YouTube to promote it to more people. So, yeah. Okay, we've had a fairly interesting week, I suppose. I'm going to do a ladies first thing on here this evening. We've got Aubrey Alley as a guest this evening. She hasn't been on for a while. and I know she wants to talk about the situation in Minneapolis and Minnesota in the USA. So I'm going to ask Aubrey to start us off, if she'd be so kind. Hello. Aubrey, are you there?
Oh,
okay then. I think
nervous.
My guess is she's on the telephone or something like that. All right. In that case, we'll just do our usual clockwise. Mercian, did you have a first topic for this evening?
I do, unfortunately. I say unfortunately. I would like to, because obviously I live in the West Midlands, and I'm still reeling from the news that a convicted terrorist is standing in the Birmingham election to unite Sparkhill, and it'll probably get in as well.
Wow. That's interesting. When you say a convicted terrorist, do we take it this is an Islamic type?
Yes, jihadist Saeed Butt. He's going to be running for a local councillor position, and
Wow.
it just puts into mind how much of a joke this country and how much of a joke Birmingham is. It's a terrible place to admit this on a podcast, but I'm kind of lost for words.
Our second city, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Second largest city in Britain is Birmingham. Second only to London in terms of size and the amount of shit in it these days, basically. I'm not even sure if it's second in that sense, but yeah. It's a bit of a pity. There's quite a few dudes who are guests on this stream who are not from Birmingham but are Midlanders, I think it's a bit like I was born in London, and Cockneys are no longer a thing. If you find them, they'll be in Essex or somewhere. And I think it's pretty much the same for real Brummies. There aren't any real Brummies anymore.
I think a lot of them have moved to a place like Tamworth, or maybe even as far as Telford.
Yeah, for sure. This is what happens when you're being demographically replaced. Cities that used to be really important are just taken over by foreigners, basically.
And
go on.
No, I was just saying, no one cares about that kind of ethnic cleansing. Sorry, do you want to carry on that thought?
Well, it's just, you were asking in the Discord earlier in the week about like reindustrialization, but of course, like there was a point where Birmingham, in terms of household income, outstripped London. That sort of whole region of the country generally. It was
because of industry.
Yeah,
because of industry, there were real jobs in real factories that really made real things that people bought. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, the West Midlands, back in the Victorian era, and maybe a little bit before, it was the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. That's where all modernity and modernisation came from, the West Midlands. And it feels like such a joke to me in this day and age that was the cradle of all modernity in terms of mechanisation and all kinds of industry.
Well, look at you had most of the very small arms industry used to be around Birmingham. The people who made the rifles and all that kind of stuff. But lots of other things too. And the weird thing that people don't realize now is that even in the 1960s and the 1970s, it was still an industrial area.
Yeah.
There were still real jobs there for people.
Yeah. There's still bits of industry left. JLR is perhaps the biggest sort of employer in the area. That's why I keep talking about JLR, because when JLR stops, and they're kind of walking dead as it is, as far as I'm concerned. When it stops, the area's done. Worse than Detroit, I would argue.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, look, we are going to do a stream at some point, a special stream, and we're going to talk about reindustrialization, and probably artificial intelligence and stuff will come into that, because I'm an advocate for opening a couple of new coal mines in Wales, which has some of the best, most efficient and cleanest burning coal in the whole world. But
Yeah.
I don't want to open coal mines where you have miners at the pit face stripped to the waist with a pick. I want to open really modern mines that are fully automated, that provide people with good jobs, rather than all these mining villages in Wales now, which are basically, there's no work at all, really.
I don't even open them up on the basis for strategic importance to the country. It's
Oh yeah,
strategic.
no, absolutely. The energy importance of it. Yeah, I'd open a couple of coal-fired power stations for certain. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd put as many filters and what have you in terms of keeping it as clean as you could keep it. But I'd happily have a couple. Given that China opened about 50 every year, Britain having 2 or 3 ain't going to really make a difference to the world.
Well, I think I want to clarify that a little bit. Sort of like, we not waste it on things like barbecues and things like that. Not for public consumption sort of thing. It's just strategic coal mining for power stations and any kind of heavy industry we need.
Yeah, and for example, the steel industry, you've really got to have coking coal for that, or you can't have a steel industry. And you've got to have a steel industry if you're going to make your own warships, which Britain has to do. So, and also, of course, if I'd like to see some sort of revival in the car industry. And I know that's one of the things you're interested in, Mertian.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've already started sort of doing like a fantasy, bring Triumph back, and what a modern day Triumph should look like after we started talking about Triumph. I've started putting my pitch together for Triumph. So, right, if you do the X, Y, Z, bring back this, do this. Perhaps all this is for another stream.
Oh yeah, but I mean, Triumph. Yeah, I mean, the Triumph Dolomite was an excellent sporty saloon. You had things like the Triumph Spitfire. You had the TR, whatever it was called. I can't remember now.
The TR6 and TR7, and TR6. I quite like the. It's overlooked, but if you ever look at a Triumph GT6, that is a pretty car.
That's
The thing is, all of this is impossible under our current leadership. I mean, like you say about opening mines for strategic reasons, but like you look at coltan, right? Coltan mining, because they've been talking about this in the press. And it's like when it was done, when Australia was responsible for a majority of all coltan supply in the world, that was the white man keeping jobs for themselves. Then what was the name of that giant mining company that did that in Australia that went bust like a decade ago?
I can't remember. I know who you mean, but I can't remember what.
Yeah, I can't remember the name either.
The only mining company I know makes sticky tape, 3M.
Yeah, and it's like, but now a large amount, still nowhere near a majority, but a large amount of coltan comes from the Congo, and now it's the white man oppressing the black man and taking resources from Africa. Like it's the same with like the 1948 Planning Act, where they basically use that to like strip industry from the Midwest, essentially.
But I'll tell you another thing, Adam, and Australia still exports loads of coal, and it mostly goes to China.
Yeah,
China takes loads of Australian coal for their many coal-fired power stations.
Yeah, and for their steel-making industry and everything else.
Yes. Yeah, nothing made in Australia. The Australian Labor government is just as insane as the British Labor government in terms of green bollocks and the net zero and all that shit. So consequently, the power costs in Australia are through the roof now. And even when I first moved here 26 years ago, Australian energy was relatively cheap. It's very expensive now. Like if you're on a fixed income, you're probably going to find that your energy bills are going to be almost as much as your accommodation bills.
Well, I mean, but this is the thing though. Like we don't have a composites industry in the UK, like hardly at all. I mean, they're also currently gutting our chemicals industry, but you know, and it's like we don't. And it's like, well, you can't have a composites industry because it's labor intensive and we're an expensive place for labor. Well, we're not even that anymore though. Like we're quite a cheap place for labor actually now compared to a lot of places in the world. And it's like, actually, when you look into it, like a lot of composites require steel molds to produce, and we don't produce the steel. And even in the instances that we do, it's so expensive that it makes it more viable to have that stuff manufactured in China and shipped halfway around the world than it is to make it here. And
which is great as long as China's your friend, but not great when
but
they're
even
not.
then, it's not great when it's not though, because what you do is, there was an example of this recently. There was a company not far from me that makes I mean, this isn't composites, but they make welly boots, but they're boots for use in the chemicals industry. So they're protective equipment essentially. And they were finding they only make very small batches of them. I can't remember what the company's name is now, but they were finding that there was a huge amount of essentially their boots, but with different brand names going onto the market. And it's because these Chinese companies that they put this tender out to make these boots on their behalf were just making more batches using their design and using their molds and everything else.
And China does that all the time with everything.
Well, yeah. So you've seen this with the bicycle industry, right? So all these, and I mean, you've seen this with the iPhone. Actually, that's probably a better example. You know, Apple uses China to make their iPhones, and now, like, you know, every Chinese town has their own smartphone manufacturer, which is enormous. Which is essentially just a copy of the iPhone. You know, they're essentially using Western companies to do their design and their R&D for them, and then they just put a different brand name on it. And they're allowing sort of Western capital to develop their own manufacturing base. And it's like, so that isn't of a benefit. And then also it isn't particularly of a benefit because you're just stripping industry from your native land and reducing it to a service economy for a dwindling service economy as well.
100%, Adam, and also I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, if we're going to talk about reindustrialization on a future special stream, which we will, obviously we're not talking about under this government, and probably, although this is something we're going to talk about a bit later, probably not under a reform government either. But you know. But yeah, no, I fully accept that one. Mitch, anything you wanted to say about this or reality, and then I'll take you back to Mercian.
No, not about this. Sorry about my mic though, guys. Go ahead, Mitch.
I don't have much to say either. It's just, you know, my area used to be a coal mining area. There was nothing. Like, it's just completely industrialized, and you know, I think the only thing people are going around is drugs more than anything.
Yeah, the suburb of Australia I live in, there used to be car manufacturers and things like that, and now nothing. And as Mitch says, a load of drugs though, sure. You know.
Yeah, like, I can't go for a walk in the woods anymore without smelling weed. I could just be walking
same here.
And I just.
Yeah, I think that's true everywhere, mate. I mean, I can walk around my local park where I used to take my dog, and you can smell people smoking weed.
Well, I mean, not to dox myself, there was actually a story in the paper from a village that's not that far from me, called Aylsham, and people can look this story up. It was in the national press here in the UK for like 5 minutes about a lady who was a PCSO who was walking her dog in the woods, and she was killed. And then the story disappeared from the headlines because it turned out that, like, basically the only black family that had moved to the village from London, it was their son, and he was up there burying his weed in the woods, and she saw him, and he went and killed her.
Lovely.
Oh my God, he killed
Yeah.
her?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Because he might have got 6 months for that if he'd have been very, very unlucky.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what are they going to do? It's marijuana. You know, marijuana is illegal in Britain, strictly speaking, but they hardly do people for it.
Oh, I
as
mean,
far as
they
I
brought
understand.
in the classification system just so they could give people more lenient sentences for certain drugs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like in Australia. You know, if I want, if I want to go and buy marijuana, and I'm an old dude, I know of 3 people in the road I live in I can go and get it from. So you know, it's just crazy. It's
I have a
absolutely.
dispensary right around the corner from my house now
Yeah, well, you
because it's
guys
legalized here now.
yeah, you've legalized it in many states.
I don't
in America.
like that.
Well,
particularly.
it's Brave New World, isn't it? You know, it's
Well,
Aldous Huxley, basically.
Oh, it's practically legal around my neck of the woods. I mean, so there was like some Harry Potter acts that got done for weed like 17 years ago. Nowadays, if you do weed right outside the police station, they won't do anything. Maybe they'll just, you know.
Yeah, it's basically been decriminalized, really.
Yeah, but I know why they do it as well, because it's kind of like technically it's still illegal, so people still feel like they're being edgy by doing it, but it's also practically so decriminalized that it's not really a rebellion against the system either. And it kind of feels like the system just allows it to be technically illegal because, meh.
Royal Biscuits in the chat is asking about legalizing weed and I'm presuming he means drunk driving. Yeah, it doesn't. If you're over the limit on that stuff, you're still over the limit. I mean, you know, it's not illegal to drink, but if you drink and drive, then it is illegal. Although I will note that in Britain they want to change the law to make it basically so you can't even have half a pint of beer and drive, which I think is ridiculous, frankly. But you know.
Yeah, if you get in an accident here and you have it in your system, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it doesn't make it doesn't change that stuff at all.
Woodpit also makes a good point where he said they still treat weed like the 1960s, but modern weed's very, very much not. Yeah, I remember reading an article on this by, I think it was actually by that David Fraser guy that did the book on British crime, but they were saying in that like, you know, the stuff that like the hippies were smoking in the 1960s was like, you know, 30% strength, whereas some of the stuff people are vaping now is like, you know, it goes through an industrial process and it's like 99% strength. It's absurd how much stronger the stuff is nowadays.
Right. I've been reading some articles too about you know, I don't have an issue at all with people that have, you know, serious neurological or pain issues, whatever. Like if their doctor thinks that's good for them, then fine, by all means. You know, I don't want people living in major pain, but I think that, you know, young kids doing this, like you're talking about with the strength being so much higher, they're talking about damage that it's actually doing to people's brains, and I think that that's kind of a scary thing. Plus, the vaping thing, do we really know still? Is that still pretty unregulated?
Yeah, I think in Australia it's quite heavily regulated, but certainly here in the UK it's pretty unregulated.
It's illegal here, mate. It's illegal to have a vape with what do we call it? With the stuff in cigarettes. You're not allowed to have that in a vape in Australia. Which is crazy, given it's actually quite a good way for people to stop smoking cigarettes. But you know, Australia's got a different problem. In Australia, like illegal cigarettes are enormous because of the Australian cigarettes are now absolutely crazy. If I wanted to buy 50 taxed Australian cigarettes, that would be $60 or $65 now for me. For 50 cigarettes. And of course,
it's insane.
Yeah, but as a result, almost nobody buys them. Everyone buys illegal untaxed cigarettes, which are you know, not even a quarter of that price. So that's what's happened in Australia. And the Australian cops admit they can't do anything about it because it's just so big. And of course, these medical people and social workers and lefty arseholes generally were all celebrating, saying, look how few people are buying cigarettes in Australia. And it wasn't that at all. It was just people weren't buying taxed Australian cigarettes. That's all it was.
That's funny.
The smoking actually didn't go down by 100% like they tried to claim. Someone's saying you can get nicotine vapes on script. Yeah, you can, but they're quite hard to get. And I know because I asked my doctor and she said no.
I don't understand why a doctor would say no to that.
You told me, but my doctor's a Chinese lady, so I barely understand her anyway. So, you know. Yeah, but she was the same lady who, after I had a triple heart bypass and was getting really bad chest pain because they cracked open all my ribs, wouldn't give me any sort of
pain medicine.
Yeah, she wouldn't give me decent pain medicine because there's so many drug addicts in this area.
Yeah, I had a fit about that when you told me that, because I mean, imagine that after having a triple bypass.
I just think it's funny, you know. I mean, if I wanted to go and buy illegal drugs, I can go over the road, quite frankly. You know, literally. Right. I can't get pain medicine off my doctor. It's just so fucking stupid. But anyway, there we go. Mercy and sorry, we got a bit distracted there and went a bit around.
I don't mind because I as far as talking about industry and that kind of thing, I was part of that problem. So, if we want to talk about this sort of Saheed and his counsellor, let me just read out what he's been convicted for as far as terrorist charges. So, Butt was convicted on terror charges in 1999 amid claims he was part of a terrorist enterprise conspiring to terrorize Yemen. He was found guilty of forming an armed gang and conspiring to bomb the British consulate and an Anglican church on a Swiss-owned hotel in Yemen. He had groups with link to Islamic radicals who kidnapped 16 Westerners in 1998, 4 of whom were killed. They were accused of being sent to Yemen by radical cleric Abu Hamza. And he's been jailed in Birmingham for violence and was in trouble regularly throughout the 1980s. Linked his role in the notorious Lynx gang, a street gang of mainly Pakistanis who took on the racist far-right skinheads and National Front. So that man is probably going to be a councillor in Birmingham soon.
Oh my God.
It reminds me of, does anyone remember that Ahmed Yaqub who ran for the mayor of the Midwest? I've got the picture somewhere. I'm going to try and put it up. Let me just find it. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm going to try and share this if I can.
It's like people have just lost their minds completely.
I don't even recognise this country anymore because it's certainly not the country I grew up in the late 20th century. Yeah. What would a West Midlands mayor have anything to say about Gaza?
Yeah, it's just a scene of total decline.
Yeah, and the building behind it.
The building behind it, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, the building behind it, I mean, that's pretty much England I know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, I can go over to like Stafford, and I'll just be like, you know, that'd be like a retail kind of place. That'd be like a retail, like a Dunelm or something. I mean, opposite, there's like a building that looks like that. And it's
It's like downtown St. Louis too. It's so much. It's just old factory buildings. It's just I was just downtown for the first time in like literally years because I just don't go down there anymore. And it just doesn't even. It used to be my stomping grounds when I was in college, and we used to just have so much fun down there. And now, God, you're lucky to not get carjacked.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's like we've still got to have this weird argument, this weird battle where there's like a large proportion of the population are just like, no, there's no impact of demographics on voting patterns. People just vote for the best candidate.
Oh God.
That's why there's a group of Muslim MPs in the House of Commons. Yeah.
Who are
I
all
mean-
supporting like cousin marriage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know at one stage the city that Aubrey was talking about was the most violent city in America. I don't think it is now. I think it's been
It's still in like the top three
overtaken by
lists.
somewhere else.
It's
but
in the
yeah.
top 3. I mean, just last time I checked, which wasn't that many months ago, it was still in number 1. And people, because let's see, well, it was in the fall I checked, because a friend of ours is from Chicago, and she was like, no, it's not more violent than Chicago. And I was like, oh well, actually, yeah, it is.
Having a contest
Not
with
something
Chicago.
yeah,
is
the year I
not
moved
good.
from St. Louis, we were the most dangerous city in the world, and where I moved was the number 100, or the number 1 place out of 100 that it rated in all of the U.S. to move. So I went from the very bottom to the top. So that was a good move.
And then New
But
Orleans.
and that was only 20 minutes away from the city.
Woodpit is talking about New Orleans, and I used to have an American
Can you
friend.
guys not hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Everyone can hear you. I had a friend who used to like
Heck
New
is going
Orleans,
on?
an American friend, and he had to stop going there just because it got so dangerous.
Yeah,
And
is it New Orleans just a place? Like, 'cause you hear all the time. I hear all the time about strange voodoo crap. It always happens with some murders there, all the time. Because it's like, I know like Haiti was also big for that, like, all the voodoo stuff they got from West Africa, and I think New Orleans is also big for that.
Well,
It's like,
look, the only thing I've got to be careful, Mitch, because we're on YouTube. But the only thing I will say to you is that if you look at all the American cities with high violence rates, they have one thing in common, and that's it. They have a very large American black population, basically.
I mean, one of the things one of the big red pills for me, there's that line that I know Americans say now, where they say that like all the negative stereotypes about America are just, the basketball people essentially. And I remember the first time that sort of actually clicked for me, not in a catchy phrase like that, but just in general, was actually looking at like the goings on in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina.
Oh God.
Seeing these videos on the internet of like these black gangbangers like shooting at helicopters and stuff like that.
Yeah. Helicopters that are coming to rescue them and help them. Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere like, I think it was like a fair few like white couples. Like there's this one white woman who because I can't remember, it was like a stadium or something that would act as like a temporary refuge for
Right.
people in New Orleans area from the Hurricane Katrina. And like this particular one woman, like she just saw so much stuff being done by the basketball Americans that she developed PTSD.
Jesus.
I'm sure.
If you look at US crime rates and you look at white Americans' crime rates, and including violent crime particularly, if you look at white American violent crime rates, they're no worse than British or European violent crime rates. It's only when you add in the basketball Americans that America becomes vastly more violent, and that's just flat. It's
like,
just flat.
Just on to Woodpit, Charlemagne, because I think Charlemagne, I remember him at Robert E. Lee stream with Apostolic Majesty. He said he was descended from PGT Beauregard, who of course famously shot on Fort Sumter. And that's the thing, it's like Louisiana. I mean, outside of New Orleans, seems all right. They've got the Cajuns, who were descended from the Acadians with Choctaws, and also the other thing I know about Louisiana is Huey Long, who I know some guys out over in America, they love to meme that guy. From what I've seen.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good segue in that the main reason Aubrey is on this evening is that she asked to come on, and she wanted to talk a bit about what's happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis. So Aubrey, take it away.
Sure. And if my mic goes out again, you guys, I won't keep coming back in and out because I don't know my computer.
It didn't.
I don't have.
Aubrey, it didn't go out.
Really?
No, we could hear you perfectly.
Oh, I don't know what's going on, but I'm on my phone because I don't have my computer charger, so that's the problem. But anyway, yeah. So Minneapolis, I don't know how closely you guys have been following this, but our country has gone like lost its mind. At least Minneapolis has, which I mean that's the city, of course, like where everything was going down with George Floyd and all of that. I mean they were burning Minneapolis down, right? With the whole George Floyd thing. So it's kind of a center of unrest. And that's Tim Waltz. Of course, you remember him, our VP nominee, the crazy guy. He's the governor of Minnesota. And yeah, I don't know. You guys have been following this, right?
Yeah.
So they just actually passed down a judgment, I guess today now, because they were trying to get federal the ICE agents blocked from being able to keep going, and the judge said no, there's not enough evidence showing that they're doing enough harm, that outweighs an injunction against the federal government. So that's
Wow.
interesting. Yeah, so that's very interesting. But yeah, the people have been talking about this woman that was shot, Kathy Good, I think is her name.
Renee Good. Is that
Renee
the
Good,
one who
that's right.
died quite early on? Yeah.
Renee. You can see how much that mattered to me about her. But yeah, I have no sympathy whatsoever for her. And the guy that was shot and killed, no sympathy for him either. If you're stupid enough to mess with the cops when they're trying to actually, I was saying to somebody else that think about it like a bank robbery. Think about a SWAT team going in with a bank robbery and trying to stop that, and you going in and blocking them with your car. How do you think that's going to go for you? It's just idiotic. But people have just lost their minds. And if you look at these videos that people keep putting on like X and TikTok and whatever, these women especially are vile, just rabid and vile. They all have that crazy kind of look in their eyes. If you look, they all have kind of a similar look to them, which is interesting.
I didn't have any sympathy for either of those two lefty morons who were killed, because they could have stayed home and they'd still be alive. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Right. And if a cop tells you to get out of your car, you get out of your car. If a cop tells you to do something, you do it. And, you take it up with your attorney afterwards. And either one of them would have walked away with a misdemeanor. That's it.
I think like the bit about Syria was like you see these Democrats who are saying, "Oh well, everyone basically they're saying that if they should get back into office like next time round, then everyone involved with ISIL will hold up a chopping block." Which I that's the same as let's say Cato the Younger declaring war on Caesar's legions as they cross the Rubicon. It's like, well, okay, great, but it's going to be a position where you've literally created like an organization full of young men who they all know that they've got nothing to lose if the Democrats win. So what's stopping them from kicking off big time? I mean, they've got, and I assume with ICE. I mean, I saw AA the other day. Like, he was arguing that ICE aren't properly trained enough with crowd control, which I'm sitting there thinking, well, a lot of these volunteers, stuff like this is that kind of thing. You can't really plan for these spot for mutants kicking off. It's like Renee Good, for example, she had 3 children, and the father was dead. Like, it's one of the things where she had more empathy towards the Somalis than she did for her own children. So, fuck her.
Yeah, and the thing there as well, I'll be honest, I don't think, I mean, I'm not in law enforcement, but I don't actually think they've been handling themselves that badly given the circumstances. Like, I mean, that one with the guy who was the nurse who got shot. I mean, this is a bit more speculative, but it kind of does look like his gun goes off when he hits the ground when they try to take it out of his holster. So,
also, Adam, and we were talking about this before we went live, and that guy, about a week or 10 days earlier, had been in another.
Well.
Yeah, and he'd also had a gun then, and he was lucky the cops didn't see the gun then, or he'd probably have been shot then. And I tell you, with that chick who got shot in the face because she tried to run over the cop, all Australian police are armed. And I tell you, if you drove your car, an Australian policeman, you got 50% chance they'll shoot you. And if they do, they will be. They won't get anything bad for that because a vehicle's
Right.
a deadly weapon. It
Well, yeah,
is.
and it's like on the car instance, you know, people were going, well, you know, he shouldn't have been standing in front of it. Well, I don't know what their
Oh,
training books say.
my God.
But like, okay, so let's say he shouldn't have. Let's say he had a misjudgment and he stood in front of the car when he shouldn't have. What? So he's supposed to just go, oh well, I suppose I'll die now, and just
Right.
like roll
I don't
over.
have a
Like,
right
no.
to get home to my children safe
Yeah,
and
it's-
sound myself. Right.
It's an
And
absurd argument.
that woman had been told to get out of her car at least
Oh.
half
Yeah,
a dozen
and she had a
times.
like a lesbo
At
partner like
least.
drive, like they were in
Right.
an action film
Yeah.
or something.
I mean, they
Yeah.
did this on purpose. They were filming for a reason. They were
Yeah.
doing this for their own little, you know, TikTok videos or whatever. Like you said, not thinking about their own children at home, but rather thinking about, you know, these Somalians who, by the way, like if you're a taxpayer in Minnesota, shouldn't you be a little bit upset that so much of your tax money has gotten stolen basically by these people, you know, for their leering centers? Quote unquote.
Well,
It's
what is it? What is
ridiculous.
$13 million or something like that?
Oh no, it's like 100 million is
Oh,
what I
so
saw last.
okay. I know it's a lot of money.
Oh,
And
Well, and
yeah.
the thing is as
yeah.
well, like the moderates do actually seem to care about this stuff because I mean I actually saw a couple of videos just the other day and they're like it was from like Asian American YouTube. And they're all making videos about this stuff, complaining about how much of their taxpayer money's like going on this stuff. And they're talking about programs in Texas and California and these
Right.
videos have got like millions of views.
Well,
So, like,
these states that are red states, you know,
Mm.
everybody's saying like, if ICE is so bad, how come we're not having problems in all of these other states like
Yeah.
Texas and other places where this is happening, and we're not. And Minnesota, I guess I found out last night that they were like the one of the very few states that did not go red for Ronald Reagan. So that's just something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're just it's crazy to me. And you know, like Ilhan Omar, who, my God, could we get that woman out of this country for fuck's sake? Pardon my language, but seriously, she's horrendous. And they were saying that her and her husband, who I guess what is her brother, they or I don't know if she's like remarried now to somebody else, but you know, she married her brother, I guess, supposedly.
well, she isn't going to remarry that easily, is she? I mean, she's got a face only a brother could love. So,
Well, she's, yeah. So anyway, they had their income, their combined income, I believe was 30,000 a couple of years ago, and now it's at 30 million. 30 million? Where's that come from?
from the
Yeah,
lyrics,
And they don't have a business, do they?
No,
She's merely a
they
politician.
do, but it's a shell. They have literally
Oh,
no
okay.
product. They've not sold anything. They have it's not been active. But yeah, isn't that interesting how all these people get into American politics now and all these Democrats and they come out multi millionaires.
Yeah, it's like
Amazing.
yeah. I don't know. It's kind of sad, you know, itself that like these are the most successful criminals of American society in terms of amounts of money they've gotten, and it's literal retards from Somalia.
Yeah.
You're pocketed like that's. It's not even you're not even getting like the Al Capones or the Bonnie and Clyde. You're literally just getting like the runts of a litter from Mogadishu. Like that's what you're getting.
But the thing is, as well, I might have this wrong. I should check this. Didn't Minnesota still vote like 47% for Trump at the last election?
I believe so.
Like, it's not that much bluer
Just-
than even Texas, if you think about it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you get these, like I always tell you guys that if you came over to America, I think you would like it a lot more than you think that you would, because, you know, on the media, right, we see all of these people that are on the blue side, the libs that are like just going crazy and making big scenes, and the typical average America, you're not going to see that unless you're in the inner cities of like the blue states, or the blue
But this is the
cities.
thing, though, isn't it? Like Minnesota, like you're almost dealing with an army, like a militia on the ground. Like,
Mhm.
you know, they had the thing where before it really started to kick off, like on the first day, they were closing down the schools.
Right.
And they said because of rioting, but clearly they were just trying to free up essentially more soldiers, which are the teachers,
Of course, of course.
and the school staff to go out there. And it's like, you look at that. I mean, this is what I was going to say about the whole Pretty thing with the nurse. Like he, you know, they disarm him, but the rest of the squad don't know he's been disarmed because there's just this wall of noise.
Chaos.
Yeah. And you know, it's like the whole thing is just designed to produce these outcomes. You know, they're all there with their cameras out. They're all trying to get martyred for their own little Instagram followers,
and these people are too stupid to understand that their leaders, if somebody gets killed on their side, like the liberals, it works for their leaders, right?
Yeah.
And these people don't get it. They're just like little pawns. But they're
got,
out there blowing their whistles and just looking like absolute lunatics. And I think about like when I was a kid, you know, the Democrats, Republicans already, of course, there's politics has always been nasty, but it's never been like this in my lifetime. And it's like people have just literally lost their minds. This is not peaceful protesting, which is what they all keep trying to say. It's we have the right to peacefully protest. This isn't peaceful.
Well, when people were saying you should comply with the police, and people were, and a lot of shitlibs were getting the arse about that statement, and people were pointing out like people being arrested for like lockdowns, and all of these people, of course, were pro lockdowns. So it's like if you had a Venn diagram between people pro lockdowns and pro vaccine, even, and people that are now all suffering with protagonist syndrome, and they're all out there on, as Barndall called it, martygram, trying to get their 5 seconds of fame. You know, it would be a perfect circle. It's I think a lot of people suffer with like real movie brain nowadays, but especially in their circles, they really do. They're very I mean, even though we're in a society now where criminality is still quite bad and violent crime is still quite present, there is like a huge subset of people that are just sort of so coddled from this stuff. They've got like a they've been sort of like fed this sort of very specific view of the world that to them sort of seems to look like something between sort of like Call of Duty and The Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
And they sort of exist in this sort of grey zone between those two things. And it's just and it's formulated in this like really bizarre sort of orchestra that we're all watching.
I mean, you just sit back and watch it, and it's like, this is insanity. It is truly insanity. What are these people thinking? And I don't know. And that's why, like, so Trump, I guess they were making it sound like he was going to pull back. And you know, after he like talked to Tim Walz and stuff, and I thought, oh God, do not do this, because all it does, like Black Lives Matter, I mean, they were empowered after George Floyd, and I thought, oh, this is going to set off such a terrible precedent, because the more we give into them, the more, I mean, look at like how many cities were burned, not completely down, but I mean, and the looting is out of control. We've got stores like Nordstrom, which is like a luxury store, which I love to shop, and it's closing down all over the place because the looters in like California, they go in and they just walk in with these pillowcases and fill stuff up, and the employees are told, don't call the police, don't, just stand back and let them take it. I mean, what are we telling people? Who are we giving the right idea to?
Yeah, it's like was it Jacob Frey? Like because he was basically saying to ICE, get a bit airfare of like Minneapolis, and it's
right.
I mean, I saw that there's this guy on Twitter that we in the Discord were taking a piss out of by the name of Fugitive Caesar, who's treating the whole thing like a high four game. But it's like this can easily be. I would say this easily can be fixed by just like Trump going, okay, sending in mobility clubs and also federal laws and stuff like the National Guard, because that's what Eisenhower did back in Little Rock, Arkansas, back in the 50s when they were kicking off our integration. Likewise, if you got to be like. There's no way that the state government can frustrate a basic federal law such as, you know, chucking at illegals. There's no way.
Right.
You've like I know I'm kind of telling myself a bit, like because you know I wouldn't say no to do like I'm planning to do my own streams one day where I might look up founding fathers as well as American Civil War, I can't imagine someone like Thomas Jefferson or Alexander Hamilton or whomever wanting to put in like federal laws to make sure state governments can't screw over federal state on something that is based.
Right.
I think America's just lucky with the cold snap that they've got at the moment,
Right.
because I think that is stopping a lot of the basketball types coming out and looting and setting fire to things.
Well, yeah, but they're not going to go out and protest for Hispanics and white women. Ultimately.
No, absolutely. And I doubt actually if they would too much do that for Somalians either, to be honest with you.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think there would either. There's no loyalty there. No, and you know the people were trying to say like that, make it sound like this is you know, an anti-minority thing. And if you look at the majority of ICE officers, the Hispanics make up the majority, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, because no one hates Mexicans more than the Mexicans.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean, they, you know, they have no loyalty to the blacks and vice versa. So
Yeah, all of these groups. I mean, it's like in Britain, just bringing it back to Britain for the moment, the people from the subcontinent and the people from, in Britain's case, mostly the West Indies, but also some Africans, they don't have any great liking for each other at all. I mean, even the people, half the people from the subcontinent hate each other. So, I mean,
Right.
it's the only thing they have in common is trying to do in the white man, basically.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's like what was said about Robert Clive's stream. It's like you know, it's like the Indians, they'll see the British Empire or whatever, but they're the biggest backstabbers on the planet towards one another. So it's kind of like, well, I can't even see much of the Indians. Like, 'cause I mean, it's like we've still got the caste system, it may, where I feel like it's Leicester, where you often get these slavery cases where like this Indian family will have like a Dalit from like the Tamils or whatever. And this Indian family, like, you think to yourself, well, okay, sure. Someone more ignorant might think, well, what's the difference between like a Tamil or Gujarati? But like that's like with India, it's just very much a strong caste and like ethnic dimension to it. Where, you know, for example, Gujarati will look upon like a Tamil as subhuman. So you can't even get Indians to not.
In South Africa, Mitch, if you're a Zulu, you're not a big fan of the Xhosa, for example, you know, or any of the other many black groups in South Africa. All of these guys are their own thing. The only thing they have in common in Western society is that they all want to try and get Gibbs off the white guy, basically.
The only thing I say was Nima, like academic age, and he wrote like because I was got the Islander number 5 issue today, and he basically says because he made his argument that capitalism is what's bringing these people over here, and he's saying, well, you get all these illegals, they work at Deliveroo and Just Eat and so on, and he's saying it's not about Gibbs that's bringing them here, it's literally just even just a slight comfort from the fact that we're not as much of a third world shithole as Afghanistan, for example.
Yeah.
Plus the Gibbs.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is true, but it's also like it's like, to be honest, a lot of the businesses were actually still against immigration. If you went back like prior to Tony Blair, there was actually a book on this. I can't remember what it's called now, but yeah, and like a lot of the government ministers actually sat a lot of the big industrial owners and big business guys down and told them that this was going to be government policy, and they kind of supported it from that point going forward. But
to wrap up this topic, but also to slightly bring it back to Britain, Mitch put an article up in the Discord not long before we went live, so I don't know how many people read it, although it's not very long. But it was quite interesting. And it was pointing out that some people on the British right were not happy with the reaction of the American right to the shooting of this lesbian lefty woman in her car. Now, I think I've made it clear. I have no sympathy for her whatsoever. She should have stayed home. And even if she'd have gone to the protest, she was told to get out of that car 6 times So, she's dead. It's her fault. That's the end of the story as far as I'm concerned. But what this article was arguing was that some people on the British right, if, for example, we ever got a base government and started to do remigration, you're inevitably going to have things like that happen from time to time. And are people on the right going to be too squeamish about it? Now, I won't be, but then I never complained about those people getting shot. I thought it was entirely their own fault, basically. They could have stayed home and they'd still be alive. I just wondered what other people on the panel thought about that.
One thing I'd hope with deportations is don't make a show of it like Trump's doing. Just do it.
Yeah.
And that's how Obama and Biden, they deported more people than Trump has, and they just did it. If you make a show of it, then it just riles everyone up.
Yeah, hang on though, Tharium. To be fair, the mainstream media were not covering it because it was Obama and Biden, and also nor were all these lefty so-called journalists.
Yeah, but you still have like Homeland Security like making all these sort of videos. It's like, just do it. You're not shit posters anymore. No, just get the job done.
People are watching so closely to everything Trump does, though, because they're just looking for reasons to declare him a king.
And they were not looking when Obama and Biden were in.
Yeah, but they should. I mean, that's the other thing as well. Like those media institutions need to be pulled apart. Like, I mean, they're essentially fifth columns.
But before all that, wasn't Trump like having sort of like this very public beef with Waltz and the other the governor of Minnesota and all the local politicians and senators there? Because let's be honest, Minnesota is a very, very left-wing state. It's probably one of the most left-wing states going. And by ICE going into Minnesota, and going into Minneapolis, I should say, it is kind of I would say it's rather symbolic, given its given what happened in 2020 with George Floyd and the riots that sprung from that, and and we all remember that was largely an AstroTurf movement designed to basically bring down the government or what have you, or to cause havoc within the government. But I also think it is quite symbolic because it is kind of like this. It's like the Lib Dems in this country. You have like these bizarre, very, very white ethnic enclaves of areas, but also you do have like pockets of illegal migrants who they will defend to the hilt because they are, these quite left-wing do-gooder. Everyone is the same. Everyone's equal mentality.
Yeah,
I think the big part of that, though, was just because of what happened with all of these Somali, the Somali fraud. I mean, I think that's a part of it too. So maybe that was not the best move. But the thing is that ICE isn't going in like rampantly into Minneapolis alone. I mean, they're going into all of these other states, and you're just not hearing about this from the red states because they're not giving ICE problems like this. It's like these people just I don't know what's going on with all of the Somali.
Aubrey, I like one of these ICE agents stopped at some of these protesters and pointed out they were going after a child sex offender. And that's who these protesters were trying to defend.
Yeah, but he was being silly because he was trying to use logic to argue against them. And just that's not the energy that's behind these protests.
I mean, the problem is that the other thing is the ICE, they're effectively police officers. And if you were to think about, I mean, you call them like law enforcement officers or what have you, but effectively they're police officers. And if you're, you're using a car, you approach with, I know some have been approaching them with weapons drawn and everything. I mean, what the hell do you think is going to happen?
Right. You
you know that
absolutely deserve to get shot if you're doing that.
and I think one thing that I see is now there's this bizarre fantasy the left will have, and look, you know, you can argue the right on this topic, you know, well, he's doing it for Israel and stuff, and yeah, probably is, but most political action, yeah, he's doing it for Israel, whatever,
No.
fine, you can accept that or not accept that, that doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, the left also entertain this sort of fantasy world. I mean, I've been seeing they've been getting like tattoos of some like, you know, fucking Star Wars rebellion thing on them with like the bird of Minnesota or something. It's absolutely cringe and gay as fuck.
God.
But
Oh my God.
because of that, you know, they're sort of like they think that like they're the rebellion in their sort of like daft little minds. And I mean, these people live in fantasy. They literally live in a fantasy. The only way they can express themselves politically is by referencing a 50-year-old sci-fi film. At the end of the day, that's how they can, you know, articulate their point of
William,
view.
I always supported the Empire myself, but that was just me.
Well, think about it though. You've got all these people that are these white middle class liberals, right? That hide out in their academic worlds, and this makes them feel like they're important, like they're a part of something. And you know, the thing is that they're like they're constituents of these politicians who don't even care about them. They don't care about them. They love when they get killed and they can use them as martyrs. I mean, they love that. They
Yeah.
love it. So
I mean, for whatever you criticize, I'm not. If I, there are people who are genuine, like, you know, like old school left commie types that I know, and there's very few of them, very far between. I feel very sorry for them because we talk about how much the right is captured and all, like, you know, the Tommy Robinsons and stuff on our side and all those dipshits. I feel sorry for the left because the left is just a sea of like fucking bought idiots who buy into every, you know, government-based narrative from, you know, here to Timbuktu. I absolutely feel sorry for them because
Oh yeah, I
if
mean
you are
they're
genuine, sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I was just gonna say, like, their leadership has utterly embarrassed them. Like they've just turned them into just a sea of servile cucks. Like it's
but
Oh,
they
yeah.
they
It is
keep
awful
going
to see.
down with the ship. I mean, they
Yeah.
like double down and double down again and again with
Oh,
their
yeah, like-
leadership, and it's so
Like they will
God.
survey the political landscape. They'll pick like just the most ridiculous position, and then they're like, "Yep, I'm figuratively and literally going to die on this hill." Like,
Right. Right.
Yeah, and someone mentioned in chat Andor. I mean, Andor is like the worst example because quite literally, I mean, okay, with Andor, a lot of the deportation stuff happened. It was referenced in the Star Wars series Andor. And I remember like this. I had this one rant on the Star Wars forum, which I'm part of, and it was like there was this planet, this like agricultural farming planet, and it was like this, you know, Hispanic woman. Okay, there's a Hispanic woman. Okay, fine. You know, there's humans in Star Wars to go with it, and she's being deported. And it was basically like you had ICE, aka the Empire, turned to deport her, and it's like, well, she's an illegal immigrant. I'm thinking, this is a galactic-wide empire. There's no fucking borders, you fucking retards. There's no borders to be
It's so
deported
funny.
from.
Guys, I'm conscious that we have quite a lot of guests this evening, and we've only done 2 first topics so far.
Yeah,
So-
I'm gonna go ahead and hop off so you guys can have like more space. But
No, you're welcome to stay, Aubrey. I'm
Okay.
quite happy for you to comment on other people's stuff. All I'm saying is I want to move us along a little bit.
Right. Can I just say one last thing though? You guys, I have
Yeah,
to
of course you
celebrate
can.
in that Don Lemon, the horrible reporter that was on CNN, got arrested yesterday, and I could not be happier. So
That's the gay black guy, isn't it?
yep.
Gayest
And
black guy
he
that
went
ever
into the
lived.
church.
Is he still going to be
Oh,
done
yeah.
with the KKK Act on MLK Day? Is that?
Oh God, no idea, no idea. But yeah,
Why did
got
why did
arrested.
he target the church? Did like the church minister say something, or
Yeah,
why
the
was that
church
targeted?
minister, he was a part of ICE. He I guess he's an agent like of ICE, not agent of, but he has some kind of a job with ICE. And so they found out, and they stormed the church. So yeah. Anyway, I couldn't be happier that Don Lemon got arrested.
How do
All
they
right,
get
guys.
this information? That's interesting.
Right, exactly. Well, they were breaking into the police cars and they were stealing out of the back of the cars. They were stealing like FBI weapons and ICE weapons, and then they were also stealing documents that had like their information in it.
What?
So
Wait,
They've
they're
got
stealing
people
weapons?
who,
yeah, they were stealing
they did.
weapons.
Yes, they did.
Why didn't they?
They're also listening into police radio channels and all this stuff. Yeah.
Which you can do. I mean, anybody can do.
Yeah,
But
here they're all encrypted, but I've seen like mobile apps in the US that allow you to like listen.
yeah,
to...
I mean, I can go on my phone right now and listen to the fire or police or whatever. I mean, you would think that with ICE now they would have some of that encrypted, like you're saying, but anyway, I just wanted to finish up the topic with that. Congratulations, Don Lemon. I really hope you have a great time.
That is the stealing of the weapons and stuff. That is
Oh yeah,
crazy. That is I mean, on a serious note, like forget the whole stuff. I hope that like whoever is in charge of sort of dealing with that actually does, like, because that's a bit more than just like a shitlib protesting on the street escalation.
Right.
That's kind of like that's a bit of an escalation there.
And these will be weapons that civilians can't get, probably.
right. A lot of them, yeah.
Fully automatic M16s and this kind of thing. Yeah.
What? Hold on a sec. Why isn't, like, the American, state not doing like Ruby Ridge or Waco on these guys? Because this seems like a big. This seems like if any of that sort of shit that went down the past is warranted, I think you might need to do that now.
Right. I know. I don't know. I think Trump is in kind of a precarious situation where he's kind of damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. And I don't know. I think it's easy to say, like, I would go in and just stomp them, but
Right, I would say that Trump lost 2020 in part because when the whole like Chaz and all the other crap happened during the summer of love, as people call it, he just let it happen rather than just going there with the billy clubs. Because like Nixon, for example, he won amidst Kent State University, where that bunch
right.
of left wingers got shot. Everyone and most people supported it, hence they voted Nixon. So
Right.
I don't buy this idea that Americans wouldn't support, let's say, a massive authoritarian crackdown on all these seditious, subversive elements.
Yeah,
But it's such a different environment now. And most people do support the deportation. And that's the thing. It's just you get these psychotic people out there that are, I don't know. It's a headache.
I think Trump's plan back then was to, look at these crazy Democrat-run states. And the problem was, it in some ways it did actually, like, because they end like the Chaz and all that, but also like in Portland, and elsewhere, and it sort of solidified this sort of mentality. It's kind of, the problem is you can't, the left are deadly serious, and you can't really laugh at them because they will still be there, and they will either force people like to killing them or force them out. And and so in some ways, Nixon, what he did, I mean, looking back, you could say it was extreme, but to be honest, it was necessary. It was a necessary step to take in that scenario.
And the majority of people, even like my grandparents on one side of the family were Democrats, and we all wonder, like, we all say, what did we do wrong? But they were Democrats, but it was the Democrat Party of JFK, which was very different than it is now. And so most people, even Democrats, would see what's happening now and would just be shocked, right? It's this like fever pitch that has built, and I truly believe it feels like it's like an oppression. It really does. It feels like a possession of these people in my mind. So anyway.
Yeah, look, to people in Britain who were a bit shocked about the right's reaction to these lefty scumbags being shot, I would just say, look at the left's reaction when Charlie Kirk was shot in front of his little girls. They were literally singing and laughing on social media. And nothing I saw from the right was as bad as that. So, you know. Anyway,
I mean,
we are going to move on.
Yeah.
And I just want to do a little bit of channel admin before I hand it over to Ataman for his topic for this evening. And my channel admin is this. Guys, please hit that like button. It really does help the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so via Entropy. And you can also ask Super Chat questions there, which we will address towards the end of the stream. Yeah, please do that, because I actually spend more money on this channel than it makes. And I am not a rich man, sadly. I wish I was. So yeah, if you guys would like to hit the like button and support the channel, you can do so. And the Entropy link is pinned at the top of the chat. Ataman, did you have a first topic for this evening?
Yeah, kind of. I'm kind of going back over the sea again to America, though. Well, not really. So, I mean, there was this thing, wasn't there, after the last election where they had these, the Democrats were like, oh, how did we lose the young male vote? And they sort of have been trying to like find their own sort of like versions of Joe Rogan, even though Joe Rogan was a Democrat anyway.
Didn't they have a big like conference that they spent millions on, and then they stuck some fat woman in charge of getting young men to vote?
Yeah,
like
and I think she's already gone a step down.
They did those videos, you guys remember the videos that Kamala did with these white guys that were like, I'm a Kamala.
Yeah, they realized that didn't work, at least.
Yeah, so you end up with I'm gonna put this picture up actually. You end up with a lot of these characters, including this guy who is one of these masculinity people on Instagram. And these, I mean, you can go and look these people up. This guy in particular, what's his name? He's called Non-Toxic Masculinity. That's literally his Instagram admin. Yeah, I should have warned people this is offensively gay. But and he just does, and he's got like, he's in a home gym, right? He's got the American flag with the barbells. It's all very performative. He's got this stupid shirt that says "Read books, lift weights, fight fascists." He's all of his videos are him going through all these books that he reads, apparently. I mean, he does like a video every week, so I don't think he's reading 20 books a week. And you know, they've pumped a lot of money into this. I think they put like $20 million into this just to begin with, to bring like accounts like this up off the ground. But like you see at the front there, right? He's got this, but this is like across the pond, right? This happens here too. So he's got one of the books at the front there is Lord of the Flies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing a Lord of the Flies show for the BBC. And I'll be honest, I don't really like Lord of the Flies. What was the name of the book it was based on? Was it called The Coral Sea?
And it's a shit lefty book anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, like the guy that wrote it.
Wasn't it based on a true? Wasn't it based on a true story? But in the real or based on like loosely events where you did have like stranded boys on an island. But in reality, they didn't like kill each other and went like all like, you know, like chimp out like some would. They actually like worked together and
yeah. So there's actually I've got the real story here. So there's this guy Peter Warner, and he found these boys, and essentially what they'd done is they were at a Catholic boarding school in Tonga, and they were going to sail to Fiji. And they ended up getting caught in a storm, and they were between the ages of 13 and 15, so they were very young. I mean, that's a real adventure to be doing at that sort of age. And they set off, and they had provisions and that, but they got hit by a storm, and they ended up washing up on a small island. And when they were found, they were basically stranded there for 15 months. And when they eventually got rescued, it was described that they had a small food garden. They'd hollowed out tree trunks to store rainwater. They even had a gymnasium and a badminton court.
Aw.
and chicken pens and permanent fires.
What year was
Thanks.
this? That this
This
happened?
was when was this? This was I think it was in the 19th century.
Yeah.
They had a badminton court. That's so sounds so British. Like,
We bring civilization everywhere
yes,
we
you
touch.
do. I know. I love it. Were they in like little cardigan sweaters and?
Probably they must have been.
So,
so and
so basically, they created a paradise. They just created a paradise.
yeah, and it. But yeah, I mean, I'll put up a picture of this of the cast from this new Lord of the Flies series as well, just briefly. But it's not entirely white, but it is very white for the BBC.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god, that's insanely white for the BBC. You sure this is the
Yeah.
BBC?
Yeah.
I'm
well,
pretty sure this is the BBC one.
Don't get your hopes up. The reason why
Oh,
it's
no.
insanely white, and if you know the story of it,
Mhm.
you'll know why they've done it
Oh,
insanely
no.
white.
Yes, exactly. William is entirely correct. The reason it's very white is because it's going to be, these
We know where
guys
it's
are
gonna
going to
go.
be little savages.
Yeah, because of
They're
course
going
this
to
is the thing.
enslave.
Yes.
Yeah, the Lord of the Flies. The guy who wrote it, James Golding, I believe his name was, or was it John Golding? He, he was a World War II vet, and he'd also suffered with a lot of drinking problems throughout his life. He was a troubled man, and I think he did kind of project some of that onto what he saw as a more realistic depiction. He claimed.
Adam, with that name, early life check.
What did I say his name was? It's Golding. Did I say
Yes.
Goldstein?
No,
Yeah,
you
it
said
might be.
Golding.
I don't think it was. I think I looked actually, and I couldn't see anything like that on the early life section.
But it's definitely I mean, I read that book many
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago, and it's a shit-lived book. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically aren't little boys evil? That's what that book's about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, specifically as well, like private school boys too, that he kind of picks on in that. And
You know, boys being boys.
Boys are kind of evil.
Do you remember AI getting into controversy, as he likes to do, when he said that bullying at school was a good thing? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of that sort of story is what the Lord of the Flies is.
Right.
Really, but the guy vastly exaggerates it, and he turns these little boys turn into absolute savages, and that's why there are so many white people in that BBC.
I don't think, because Golding, it looks like he's like from he's Cornish, but maybe like there's you know, I think he's like half Cornish or half English, but it doesn't appear to be any of like, you know, that about them. I would say though, he did attend as like a boarding school, and I think maybe not with war, but he may just be like projecting some bad experiences from boarding school. Yeah, basically, yeah. And look, I went to boarding school, and I mean, it wasn't extreme as that, but there were some times it was like, yeah, it wasn't pleasant. I mean,
yeah.
Well, read Tom Brown's School Days. You know, if you're going to have a load of young men in that situation, yes, you're going to get some bullying. I mean, in the army, you get a certain amount of bullying. You do.
But that's but you have to stand up to it. If someone's being like horrible to you, the thing is, you have to actually stand up to them. That's
100%.
And that's something I learned very quickly. Is you have to stand up to them, and you may get the shit kicked out of you. You may get. I mean, the thing is, by the time I was like 14, I had already been in several fights. I had been like had a bloody nose. I'd given someone a bloody nose. But that's how it was. That's just how it was.
The trick, William, is that, and like, you know, I got in loads of fights at school. As far as I'm concerned, all boys get in fights at school. You just do. But particularly if you go to an all-boys school, which I did. But the thing is, you don't have to win. You just have to fight.
Yeah.
Because so long as you fight, eventually the bullies will pick on someone who doesn't, basically.
One of my closest friends, when I started in year 10, when we went up to, but who was new, when we first met each other, we were actually in a proper fist fight. And then after that, we got it out of our system. We became like best friends for like the next 2 years.
Yep.
That's what happens with you boys. You guys get in fist fights and then you go and like buy each other a beer. Women or girls, like they get in fights and then they pretend to be your best friend and then they like go after your boyfriend a year later. Like they're vicious. They plan it for the entire time. Like, yeah, you guys are more civilized than young girls, I would say.
But yeah, like, and to go back to like the book talk guy, right? I mean, like, there's a video I found of him in some interview, and he's on some stage, and they're talking in front of an audience, and they're talking about ice, and he's sitting there, and he's like, and like his channel's called like non-toxic masculinity, and he's sitting there, being like, those ice agents, they have small peepees, they have small peepees.
Oh my God.
Going, and it's like, it's like they can throw as much money at like this idea of like buying back the public, and particularly like young men, as much money as they want. They have like a deep inbuilt hatred of masculinity, which they'll never be able to overcome. So it's all going to be for nothing.
Right.
Do you know my question to that book talk would be is, how do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did he really say peepees? Because
no, he said
okay.
he said wieners, but
oh my God, that's even worse. Yeah. Honestly, that's even worse. God, makes me hate him right there.
Yeah.
Jeez. Did you guys see the new Star Trek? I guess it is. They have like a black woman, a Hispanic woman, a lesbian. Like I don't watch it, so yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I just saw an article about
very
that.
gay. It's very
yeah.
gay.
Do you know, I've got into an argument with leftists over Star Trek, because that like leftists are like, oh, it's always been left wing, and so like, no, up until like during the 90s and the last Star Trek that I consider Star Trek was the Enterprise prequel, that starred Scott Bakula. But this modern interpretation, like post J.J. Abrams, it's like before then it was liberal, so yeah, left wing, but it wasn't insufferable. This is woke, which is different.
I'd say the thing about Star Trek is it's like back in the 60s, you have that first interracial kiss scene that was like that live shits to like talk about. But also, the other thing is, it's like,
but they had mini skirts back then, Mitch, so I forgive them.
yeah. I mean, the second thing is, it's kind of like, you know, the Federation is depicted as basically having like the same values as California, but also that they are having an officer court akin to Edwardian Britain, which like how those two things go against one another.
I would say, in terms of the original series of Star Trek, which is the only one I like, you know, the one with Captain Kirk in it. The original series was kind of like Hornblower in space, really, because there were girls in it, but they did things like the communications officer, and they were nurses and sensible female things, you know. The guys who actually went and did fighting and stuff, they were blokes, you know. But yeah, the original series I got no problems with. I think it was fine, and I like the mini skirts on the girls, although not the boobs. But I would have put them in high heels. But anyway, but the second series, the Next Generation, I had no time for that because it was just so boring. You know, it was all they did was talk.
I thought that like,
such a guy thing to say right there.
For me, though, there's a lot of philosophy in the Next Generation. A lot of interesting concepts for me to think about. This modern stuff is just sheer wokery, and there's no nuance to it. So, you know, Like anything up to the Scott Bakula is watchable for me. Even if it would be drenched in leftism for the time, because I mean we've got to remember leftism in the 20th century, or the mainstream leftism in the 20th century, wasn't insufferable.
Yeah.
Not
And like
now.
Starfleet were incredibly elitist.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't any DI or diversity hiring in Starfleet.
There was always an aspect of commies in space to Star Trek. There was.
I think if you look at their worlds, okay, you've got replicators that can just make anything. You're in a post-scarcity world. That would really change things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be totally alien to anything we'd recognise today.
Yeah, but the only thing the replicator can't make is the fuel for warp drive, like dilithium crystals, antimatter, etc. So there was a scarcity around the warp drive itself, which with warp drive also powers replicators as well.
The original series was like I said, it was very much kind of Hornblower in space. You know, you had Captain Kirk and Spock, and Scotty the engineer, and Dr. McCoy, and it was about those guys, you know.
And it was masculine. It wasn't like lesbians in space.
I'm just gonna get my trump card here. Okay, this is a trump card. Prepare everyone.
Oh no.
Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, incredibly handsome, and above all, a super fascist.
I've never watched any of the new ones.
What do you mean?
Wait, do you mean Disney Wars?
Do you mean Disney Wars or prequel wars?
I mean, I've only watched the old school Star Wars, the ones from the 80s or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you probably would. I don't know. You probably get into like maybe the second, third one, but the prequels are worth a watch. As you'll get the reference with with what I just said there, but effectively, the chosen. I mean, the thing that I've always had a problem with Star Trek, it actually has been ironically the miniskirts. Like, let's be honest. Hold on a sec. I'm not going to go all morality police here.
You're going to go white Sharia here. I know, William. You just are. All right, stop it. We're going to stop this.
Hold on.
Is not a Star Trek show.
No. What I would say is, how is it Captain Kirk wasn't like, well, I won't get to say the word, but how come he wasn't like able to concentrate all the time while in command?
Okay.
I don't know. Some of us,
that's not the girl's
some of
fault.
us guys
That's
have
not their problem.
concentration.
Yeah, but Duke, they shouldn't be allowed on the bridge. But there is
uniform standards. We
I've
can't be
got
failing
to
like
say,
this.
if I had my way, all women in the military would wear miniskirts.
I say keep those short skirts.
Can I just say something
apart from anything else, it
would keep things more interesting in space.
It would
maybe in the captain's quarter. I'll extend it to the captain's quarter.
No, it would put off the fat girls from joining.
What would you want them wearing? Like baggy camos?
I will say this: in the first series of the next...
I'm joking.
In the first series of the Next Generation, that talk about miniskirts. Do you know the men were wearing miniskirts in the first series of the Next Generation?
What happened to him?
It didn't last a few. It only lasted a few episodes, but they were doing that. And there was in the first season of the Next Generation, they also had a very racist episode. I will say that.
Roy Biscuits is in the chat is saying no soldier would be able to focus. In my world, women are not allowed in frontline units. So
they would be focused, but they'd be focused on the wrong thing.
Yes, exactly. But I wouldn't allow women in frontline units. If you go back to the base and the hospital and all the rest of it, then you want to see women in short skirts. Of course you do.
this is the problem. The Klingons would win every time. In the real world, the Klingons would just win because of how morally bankrupt the Starfleet is.
All right.
But the thing
Anyway,
is, though, just to round this off, I suppose. I mean, like there is quite a stark difference between the sort of leftism of old Star Trek and the leftism of like modern TV today. Like you look at the Prime Directive, right, in Star Trek.
Mm.
You know, that was very much, if you think of like Jared Diamond's
I
Guns,
can only
Germs and
hear
Steel.
AI right now.
Oh, we can hear you. But
yeah, I can hear you, Aubrey.
if you think of like the but you compare that to like today, if you tried to push something like the Prime Directive in a new sci-fi show today that was like leftist coded, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
It
has this alien species discovered gay rights yet?
Yeah,
we must.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Fallout show as well. Now there isn't that much woke. I mean, it's quite minimal on the wokery stuff, but at the same time, you know, you got like this. It is like the thinking. Oh, it's quite left wing coded because it criticizes capitalism. And then you have all these people saying, "Well, didn't you know the original table? You know, the sort of tabletop 2D game was about that." And it's like, no, I remember playing it as years and decades ago. It wasn't a criticism of capitalism. It was it was just a story which had comical aspects to it, serious aspects to it. It was like it was an epic. It was meant to be like a sweeping epic. In the Mad Maxy style type world.
Have people seen the new Laura Croft actress, who's the girl from Game of Thrones? I'm sorry, she's not. Well, she doesn't have enough assets to play Laura Croft. She just doesn't. Sydney Sweeney should play Laura Croft.
I don't know.
Ella Fanning should play Laura Croft. Sorry, that's my.
I'll be honest.
What was the actress from Two Broke Girls back in her prime?
Yeah, she could have played her. Yeah, she could have played her if she'd have got a bit. She would have had to have lost a little bit of weight, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't care too much about that, but I also just don't think Turner's got the voice for Lara Croft. She always sounds a bit nervous, a bit timid.
Yeah, she's not like a leading lady, is she? She's not like a
Tomb Raider. Laura Croft became popular as a game because she had big tits. Let's be honest. That's the only, and if you don't have reasonable sized breasts, you can't play Laura Croft. I'm sorry, you just can't.
Game developers, that's what you need to include.
With each new console release, she has like her breasts have literally got smaller. I'm not even joking. You can actually look at like comparison release dates. It just gets smaller and smaller until like she.
Yeah,
I think
I know.
She was like flat chested at the end of it. Like,
it's just well, yeah. So the girl who's playing her now is not flat chested, but she almost is.
Yeah, well, the games coming out of Asia have got jiggle physics. We're just
yeah, but Angelina Jolie didn't have big boobs, and she was the one who played her, right?
They padded her up, though.
Yeah, they padded her for that. They padded her for that, and she had, and she did used to have okay boobs. But yeah.
So what are we saying here? Make Western game devs horny again? Is that a take?
Yes.
Well, yeah. If you're going to have women, in these sorts of things, who was it who said, Asian games do jiggle physics? Yes, they do, and they're enormously popular.
Is this the Tomb Raider
that's
movie?
Where the RAM crisis. Sorry, but the RAM crisis is going to lead us to.
Is this the Tomb Raider being done by Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
Oh yeah.
Because
if it is, then that explains everything. Yeah,
that's a much bigger problem than the jiggle physics, really.
Okay, jiggle physics and wiener have both been said in this stream, and it's just like freaking me out a little bit. Just have to say.
What was that? What was that Japanese game with the girl?
Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade. Yeah, had great jiggle physics. I even watched a couple of videos on that game. Purely because the jiggle physics will work.
Do you know the OG of that sort of thing is the Dead or Alive series?
Yeah. I mean, the original Tomb Raider was quite one as well. They didn't have the physics then, but
No.
yeah.
That's the advantage of modern game technology. But anyway, we're going off our topics here.
I was about to say, is this Splendid Isolation or a Critical Drinker stream?
Oh, listen, I'd quite like Critical Drinker. I mean, he's pretty much a normie, but I mean, at least he's not an idiot normie, you know.
Yeah.
I'm still annoyed. I agree with him. Why is Ahsoka in Star Wars? Why is she still flat-chested? She's like 40. She's got to have developed at some point. Come on.
Then it goes on.
All right, guys. I think we've done enough schoolboy talking about jiggle physics. But you know, all guys kind of like that stuff. It kind of means you're not gay. But anyway, Fariam, did you have a first topic for this evening?
No, but I will say another reason to watch the prequels is there's a passing scene where you see a Twi'lek woman with very good jiggle physics in one of them. I think it's the second one. Just saying.
We had to bring it back to that.
So Splendid Isolation, Paul Chewen will get Critical Drinker on, and Veronica Rossick and all the rest.
Mitch, did you have a first topic for this evening, mate?
No one can think anymore.
I mean, the only thing is,
I'm thinking.
The only thing I'm thinking of is like at the moment, like someone mentioned Critical Drinker. I watched a video about A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, like that new TV series, which I admit I'm liking thus far because I mean, for one, HBO actually discovered that it's actually a good idea if when you're doing a nighttime scene, it actually helps when people are actually able to see what's going on.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a real improvement. And also, I've noticed like it's not doing the whole Machiavellian, everyone's a bastard kind of morality that happens in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. It's just simple tale of, okay, well, this like 6'6" fellow just wants to become a knight. And he's not a bad guy, he's just a gentle giant. And then you got his squire by the name of Egg, which I think people have tweeted that is actually a guy called Aegon Targaryen who later becomes king.
And even the other lords, they haven't been, like you say, all Machiavellian and stuff. Like the Baratheon guy seems pretty genuine. The Targaryen one as well, he seems okay. The older Targaryen, at least.
Just wait till the writers get a bit lazy and then they're like, "Oh, we've got a wedding to go to, guys."
Yeah.
We've got a wedding to go to.
Well, you see, he's George R. R. Martin. He's basically said he's never finishing the Song of Ice and Fire books.
Yeah, of course, because he's like, why hasn't Aragon got a tax policy? Why don't we know Aragon's tax policy? Why don't we know his road tax policy?
He's also he's committed to other authors. They've gone old and they've sort of passed it off to some other author to finish. George R. R. Martin said he'd rather die than let that happen. He'd rather it just all die with him. So
yeah, fair enough. To be honest, I mean, yeah.
I think as well, like I did go back and read the first book, but I watched the series first. I was still I think I was quite young when the first series, like when the pilot came out. You know, and at that time, the whole sort of like grey morality thing was pretty fresh. You know, and I came to really love Dune with time, but I mean that stuff gets old so quick. You know, like a story that's just devoid of any hope is just why are you even wasting your time investing in that world for such an unfulfilling,
I think,
story arc?
Some people coped. I think people are realizing it was wrong, that the show, how they ended it, that wasn't how George wanted to end it. I think it was exactly how George wanted to end it. Yeah. And from the backlash, he thought, oh, I'd better change things.
Yeah. Yeah,
This-
you kind of to watch the show, you'd almost think, oh wow, he can't actually be ending it this way because this is retarded. But yeah, no, like he's written himself into a corner. Like if he actually stay true to his own writing style, he has to end it that way or not at all.
Yeah.
But the thing is, looking
And
back,
he did,
what's
he did
the
write that as an anti Lord of the Rings, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but basically what he did was he sort of just did the ending of Hamlet. I mean, if we're absolutely being honest here, he just took the story of Hamlet and that was it. You know, I mean, extended it with some other like story arcs and all what have you. But really, it was kind of like everyone just sort of dies at the end, and it doesn't really matter because it was sort of like everyone went mad, everyone died, everyone overreacted. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Then the crippled kid is king at the end. Great.
Yeah. So cool. And yeah, he has his problems with I mean, I find the whole sort of problem with Lord of the Rings crowd is, I think number one, you're just nihilistic as hell, and probably you have like this sort of warped view of feudalism. I've noticed people who are really into that have totally distorted views on like medieval Europe and feudalism, and what went on, particularly like Prima Nocta and stuff like some of them absolutely believe some of the utter shit that comes out from you know authors and journals of people who experts and what have you. It's just absolute nonsense, half of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I mean, Hollywood and TV has done a huge number on sort of everyone's perception of the medieval age. Just costumes, just brown everywhere. What the fuck's that about? Like,
Well,
everything is brown, black, grey, and dark green,
covered in
because
shit,
they were just miserable, and their houses were covered in shit, and their streets were covered in shit, and there was no colour anywhere.
Yeah, it's like that game, A Knight's Tale. All the shitlibs were just crying about it because, for example, there's a girl in it called Amelia that she's like a cute blonde girl, and all the shitlibs going, she's a modern beauty. Like, she conforms to modern beauty standards because I don't know, her forehead isn't big enough for apparently whatever. Basically, they're all crying about it. Like, yeah, I mean, to be fair, that is too fair true. Like back in the Renaissance, like it was a big thing. Like women were meant to have big foreheads because to be fair, I think genetics has proven that if you have a big forehead, it means you were more intelligent apparently because it means like brain size or something. But but meanwhile, we're all filleting off this that Italian lesbian teenager game that's been released. Completely nauseating. I thought it was a boy at first. I had to watch that trailer a few times over to fully understand what it was all about, and I just thought, nope, never having that one on my wish list.
Yeah, because I've seen people like particularly. I've seen like one Game of Thrones fan like on Discord like really praising that one. And I just said, well, if you wanted like historically grounded nihilistic take on this, she would just be kidnapped by bandits at the end of the first mission, raped, and then just passed around by a bandit camp. I mean, okay, this is me being horrible and everything, but that's basically what would happen. So it's like, prove me wrong. You know,
you don't want to be cute back then. You don't want to be too cute back then, is what you're saying.
No, exactly. Yeah, because that's sort of, but that's a Game of Thrones episode as well that I've just stated as well. So yeah, take it as you will.
It's like oh, sorry.
So you can see why like Hollywood want to push the idea that like things would have been a lot worse. You know, if you think stuff's shit now, well, stop complaining because it would have been worse in the past.
And chivalry was a real thing in the Middle Ages.
I mean,
people did protect the weak sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean, it did happen.
Yeah, like life back then was hard. Like, there's no doubt about that. But I mean, was it worse though?
Well, just to give everyone a sort of thing of it. Today, I saw a 600-year-old cottage, which is on the market, which was like for a farm peasant, a peasant who worked the farm, the fields and what have you, about over £1 million. So only a millionaire can afford a peasant's farm cottage. So I think that sort of puts it into perspective of
Mercian and I found a castle that is for sale for how much was it?
750,000.
750,000.
Yeah, and like we're putting together a collection if anybody wants to go in on it because it's a really cool place.
Guys, I lived in a 1904 farm workers cottage in rural Berkshire in the 1990s, right? And that was worth £250,000 in the 1990s, right? And that was a rural farm workers cottage, and it was a reasonably large semi-detached house with I don't know, probably a 60-foot front garden and a 150-foot back garden.
I say,
And that was a rural farm workers cottage in 1904.
Well, our place we found is on an island, and I think it's the whole island, isn't it? Understand?
No,
No, I don't think it's the whole island because
Oh, it's a big part of it.
Yeah, I can show you all a picture.
Yeah, it's so cool. We're totally gonna buy it.
While Mercian is finding that, the point I'm trying to make, and I think William is trying to make, is that, were things worse back then? No, I don't think they were, actually. Really,
I don't know. I mean,
medicine.
modern medicine sure is helpful.
Sure, yeah, all right, medicine, I grant you.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find the through line though between
Yeah.
John Lennon's Imagine and like calcium fortified margarine though.
Say, great. I can live long enough to hear even more whining harpies tell me how bad I am and how bad my country is. Yay!
That is beautiful though. That's
Yeah,
really
you
nice.
guys can come visit, or you can go in on the collection with us if you want.
Yeah, I know. Cause I know, like in America, housing prices are also pretty bad. Because I know there's been a few clips past like week or so of Trump just going, well, he doesn't want to nuke the housing market in order to make it affordable for younger generations. He said he just wants to make it really just wants to keep the value as it is, so that boomers can
Well,
still.
he said he wanted to increase the value, which so is even worse. Not just keeping them as they are.
Yeah, and it's one thing where it's like, over here we've got completely stagnant wages since 2008. In America, it's slightly better, but even but still nowhere near affordable.
Well, it's interesting that the average age of the first homeowners in America is 40. I think in Britain it's like 33 about. So they're sort of, it's actually taking them on average longer to get onto the housing ladder.
I mean, you can buy a nice house here for 150,000. I mean, it's not gonna be like fancy by any means, of course. I mean, my house isn't fancy, and I've got 3 bedrooms. But I mean, you can buy a house here for like even probably 50,000.
US house prices are, generally speaking, lower than British ones or Australian ones, by the way.
Yeah,
and in Australia,
and it varies greatly.
But yeah, of
The
course it
state,
does.
too,
and
where
how
you are.
close you are to where you can work and all the rest of it. All of that.
I'm Duke. I'm gonna have to head off now because I need to be work tomorrow. So I will
I was
see you
just-
all.
William, I was just going to ask you if you had something you wanted to talk about.
Oh, let's see.
going apparently.
Yeah, going about it. I was we talk about jiggle physics.
God.
The only thing I will say, I found out something rather depressing. My most popular video is that bloody live reading I did of
I know where you're going.
120 days of Sodom.
Yep.
2,500.
William, are you surprised?
I'm disappointed. I'm just disappointed in everybody.
I
mean,
enjoyed listening to you struggle through that. That was so much fun.
The question is, do I give in to market pressure on this? Shall I give in to market pressure and do a
Yeah,
second one?
you should do one of his other books, William. It's going to just ramp your channel right up, mate.
Describe the Kama Sutra.
So what I'll do is I'll do a live reading at like on Epstein's Island or something, just like
you'll
really
have to
God.
do, yeah, you'll have to do Justine or something like that. But yeah, I don't no. Before you go, William, you made a video earlier about you think Labour could win the next general election. All right. Now, I don't agree with that. I think what could happen is you could get an alliance between Labour, the Greens, and the Lib Dems, etc., that could win. But I don't think there's any chance that Labour can win the next election. But they could head an alliance that could win for sure. And I think you're correct in that what you said was because Nigel Farage seems to want to make reform into the Conservative, in air quotes, party Mark II, that could happen. Yes, I agree. So just before you go, William, do you want to just talk about that a little bit? And then once you decide to go to bed, we can finish up on that one.
Yeah, so I did that video. I recorded it yesterday, and I put it. So I sort of released it today. The reason I think that, as you just mentioned, is because reform has not just accepted the brown-eyed Tory types, but the people in the Tory party who were the most despicable when it came to mass immigration and Boris wave, and also the ones that caused the high amount of drama, behaved utter clowns during the that whole period in government, and they're the ones that Farage has accepted in. Now, maybe from Farage's point of view, he realizes how unpopular they are, and so for him, they're not a threat to him like Rupert Lowe is, popularity and all that. But as I said, I think that is going to irrevocably damage reform when it comes in the next 3 years. And you could be right. It could be a coalition. It could be whatever. But I think I don't see Farage becoming prime minister. Unfortunately for him, I guess. I mean, not for me. I'm sort of indifferent with him, but I just don't see it at this moment in time. And it's not. You could argue that there was a way forward for him, but I don't think now, because he's literally made it Tory Party 2.0.
He could change it, to be fair, William. He's got enough time that he still could change that. But I do think that the British public, and Lotus Eaters did an excellent stream about this. The British public wants something bigger change than merely a Tory party Mark II. That ain't going to do it.
I see a lot of arrogance from certain reform supporters thinking that it is inevitable that they will win, and I'm very much with William. I'm not so sure now, especially if you look at this sort of the Greens and Labour and stuff. If they ditch a bit of the sort of shit libbery, then they could be really strong.
Yeah, pull the Labour move of strafe into the right, in their own way.
Yeah. Which we have seen some of, because they actually aren't they scrapping the cap on the amount you have to shoplift before you can be convicted.
Shabama Mahmood is doing that, and that was a Tory policy. Why? I think it was £200. I think. Yeah. You can just steal £200, get away with it. Stupid idea, but yeah. I mean, Reform are they're playing a really stupid game right now. I think, and they're so arrogant. They think, they cherry pick a few good polls, and think they're good, but really they're still at about 25%. That's terrible.
They've gone down, haven't they? They've gone down recently.
Yeah,
they were at, what was it, 31%?
They've gone down, but it's I think it was like 29%. There's some polls that give higher, but they're probably not so accurate. But at a time when both the Conservatives and Labour have never been more unpopular than they are now. Any insurgent party should be doing really well. Nigel's just buggering it up. He even had Jeremy
I
Clarkson.
totally agree with that, mate. As Carl Benjamin said on, as I say, the Lotus Eaters did a great stream on this, and they were talking about the mismatch between what the British public want and what Nigel Farage and Reform are offering, and this is why they've gone down. And because of the British first past the post system, if Reform want to form the next government, they've got to be a long way ahead, not a bit. It won't work if they're only a bit. And in that sense, William Grenville is right. Not that I think there's any chance of Labour winning the next election, but could they lead a coalition of them and the Greens and the Lib Dems and maybe the Scott Nats, etc.? Yeah, they could. And Nigel Farage is playing right into what that happening.
I tell you what, this is a personal thing, but since I keep finding Reform cultists is so refreshing. If you don't know a Reform cultist, you are so lucky.
They're destroying the Tory party, Mercian. Don't you see? I know the cabinet's going to be exactly like Boris Johnson's cabinet, but it's different this time.
In the words of Obi-Wan Kenobi to Anakin, you were supposed to be the chosen one, not join them.
Yeah. And it would be one thing if you had some rebel backbenchers from the Tory party. I'd get that. Not, of course, they've been, they're gate kept from ever getting there. But if they did that, that's fine. But not the fucking cabinet.
It's cabinet ministers that he's taking. Cabinet ministers who did the very thing that the Reform supporters wanted to stop.
I would say, I was disappointed with Rupert Lowe when, for example, the Suella Braverman thing, where, he tweeted last year, for example, he was saying, he loves Suella Braverman because he believed her to be genuine.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as she defects over to Reform, now all of a sudden he hates it. It's like, that's.
Yeah.
And also, another thing is, with Robert Jenrick, it wasn't that, it wasn't that they accepted him. It's just the fact that they slagged him off for absolute ages. All of a sudden, they just bring him in, almost Then you got Nadine Dorries and Nadeem Zahawi, which there's no justifiable reason why you have those people, because they are two people. Nadeem Zahawi were all gung-ho for vaccine passports, even to the point of getting children to sign up for the vax with their parents knowing. And then, Nadine Dorries, who's responsible for online safety bill, same online safety bill, by the way, that Reform have said they want to get rid of. Although Danny Kruger said, no, actually, we want to repeal certain parts of it, not the whole thing. Same Danny Kruger, by the way, who thinks that second-generation Afghans have as much right to England as any of us.
Yeah.
And even Winston Marshall in that interview was looking at him, just going, "Do you believe this?"
Yes, and then goes on.
Didn't Nigel Farage say you've only got to be in Wales for 5 years to be a Welshman?
Yeah.
To be fair, I'd give him a slight bit of slack, because the thing is, there's English people living in Wales who would not identify as Welsh. That technically, that still would qualify for social housing in Wales. So I'd give Farage a bit.
But hang on, Mitch. I don't know about you, but personally, I don't object to Welshmen who get social housing in England. So I would presume the Welsh would reciprocate. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about Englishmen living in Scotland or Scottish people living in England or Northern Irish people or whatever. We're talking about absolutely alien foreign people who are not British.
Yeah, but the question was very general. It didn't specify people from outside Britain. So that's the thing. That's the thing. I think people kind of over interpreted that part for us. I could just be wrong. It's been a while since that interview, but yeah, I'd give for slightly bit slack. He's still a civic nationalist. I'm still not. And also it's like I said a few days back, if Rupert Lowe wasn't going to create his own party, then I'm just going to stick with Reform, because my Reform membership renews on Friday. So I'm just going to renew it because it's better to be on the inside pissing out than on the outside pissing in. Because
unless you caught Mitch, though, if they catch you and they think you, I mean, I keep thinking about that Steve Eddington interview where Farage said we need the Muslim vote essentially, and I keep having this debate with other people, and all I say is sort of like, oh, it was a stitch up, it's a stitch up, but Farage didn't need to say that. I'm sorry, he didn't need to say anything. He was on friendly ground. He wasn't on the BBC. Like, I'd understand if he said that on, say, the BBC or some kind of Guardian podcast or somewhere like that. Like, that makes sense to me. To do it on a GB News original, which would have been YouTube only, it wouldn't have been broadcast on the actual GB News channel. So you're talking about the kind of autistic right there, not even boomers. To say that to that kind of crowd blows my mind, and what the hell he was thinking, because he didn't need to say it. He could have said, well, this is a problem, and this is a problem that Reform should look to sort out, like a non-committal answer or something like that. But he didn't. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I don't get, because the thing is, it's like
I don't think Mitch is like defending Reform.
Oh, I'm not. No, I think I'm so
because I know Mitch is because I know Mitch is like me, and I think most of us on this panel, we would like Rupert Lowe to form some political group, right? And I think Mitch is the same as that. So I think Mitch is just trying to make the best of a bad job, really. That's all I say.
Yeah.
Look, I don't have any problem with anyone supporting Reform. Whatever, because me and Tharium bump into Reform cultists. It's the fact that we need to be happy about it for some reason that really winds me up.
I would just go on a pragmatist card because it's a matter of, I mean, Rupert Lowe, he's got a great Yarmouth party. He's having some sort of conference on the 13th or 14th, one of those days. I'm in Great Yarmouth, so perhaps he'll make some bigger names something there. But I mean, all I'm seeing from Rupert, he keeps dangling it, but it's like we're all being suckered into it and nothing's happening. That's why I just lose my patience with Rupert Lowe at this point, and I'm just going, you know what? I'm just going to go with Reform because I can like Rupert Lowe, but at the end of the day, look, Reform are the only show in town that looks set to at least try and pull things our way. And things that I don't like a lot of the Tory plans. I mean, I shared that one email I got from my local branch chairman because plenty of people in my Reform branch were understandably pissed off when Nazim Zahawi joined for obvious reasons. And it's,
that's our one hope, I reckon, Mitch, is that the Reform base, I think, is more based than Nigel Farage and the leadership.
Way more.
Way more. That's our one slight hope.
Yeah, how much could we say, like, Nigel Farage's problem is literally because he's a boomer. Like, it's just, he was born in 1964. You got to factor that, his idea of the minorities are based off the 1% we used to have, like John Barnes and that kind of, and he doesn't really deal with, he doesn't really talk about like the Islamic minorities as much because it probably just isn't a massive burning concern for him the way it is for us, like Mercy and I, because we live in West Midlands. I live like half an hour drive from Birmingham. So put it this way, when the diversity starts branching out, my town is the first to get hit. So it's a matter of you look at Reform in terms of higher leadership. It's just a matter of they don't treat it as existential as it truly is.
No,
it's terrifying in our big cities. Absolutely terrifying.
Half of them are foreign themselves, so of course they don't view it the same way.
Yeah, 100% foreign. You're completely right about
and then
this. Including, of course, Zia Youssef, who is the number 2, who is a Muslim Sri Lankan. I mean, I'd deport him, frankly.
Yeah, then you got Matt Goodwin, which
I was just going to say,
I mean, I keep hearing on one hand, like, because people are coming up with like clips up from like 16 years ago where he was like calling Tommy Robinson far right, blah blah blah. And I'm still about thinking, to what extent can we actually say like Matt Goodwin's actually genuine with being on the right? Because I mean, like 10 years ago, how different were we all compared to what we are now? So I can make an allowance, and I don't really see anything. Like I think, although it's worth noting, Matt Goodwin, he one person asked him, well, why don't we like alongside the illegals and the criminals? Why don't we stop chucking back some of the illegals who clearly don't fit here? And Matt Goodwin was like, well, we can't chuck up illegal ones because it's a legal mess, and we don't do that because basically it's not the same. Like Michael Gove, and when Jonathan Bowden mentions that guy. Like, it's always un-British to do it. I was like, fuck off with this.
I mean, the thing with Matt Goodwin also is he literally wrote books on how to infiltrate the far right and destroy them, which is like, oh, that's not good, is it? For the person who's now in the right-wing party.
It's a wonder, like, he hasn't done like some sort of video or something, or it's just something. I don't know of any video or any tweet or whatever where he explicitly disavows like that past part of himself. It's kind of like, it's like if you were to ask me, like, for example, 10 years ago, I used to call myself a Stalinist, which because I was a retard, and then I didn't particularly read much of Stalin. I was just doing it for safe edginess at the time, and I would have no problem calling myself a retard in terms of that time back then.
Yeah.
So it's a wonder, I don't know of any tweet or anything like that where Matt Goodwin says he explicitly disavows that part of his past. So, it's a bit muddy, but as people are coming up with like these 16-year-old clips, and it's a bit dated. Like I'd expect stuff a lot more recent. I mean, there's plenty of stuff more recently where, for example, as I say, he doesn't believe in deporting illegal immigrants, even though much of the problem are the legal ones. Like I'm sure Anjan Chowdhury, for example, is legal, still should be chucked out.
Yep.
I want to ask Atman what he thinks about some of this, but I would just say this: Atman and I have been doing streams like this for getting on for 7 years now. I think certainly 6. So we haven't changed that much. But I know Mitch has a background of when he was a very, very young teenager being a bit of a tanky. But I mean, so what? You know what? Tankies are not the worst people if you can get them to thinking right. But Adam, what do you think about this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, on Matt Goodwin, I know about the past, but I am also kind of still willing to give him some rope. I've heard the explanation. I don't know if this is something he said or not. I haven't ever found it myself, but I've heard the explanation is that he had kids and it sort of like changed him. I mean, when he goes into
that can certainly happen if you're a good bloke and you have children. That certainly does change your perspective for sure.
I mean, he goes into debates with like Mehdi Hassan and is like willing to almost partially embarrass himself because he isn't fully there in like in understanding the sort of the certain racial and ethnic connotations that go behind a lot of this stuff. And I think the fact that he is willing to do that means I'm kind of still willing to give him rope and like put a bit of faith in him. But yeah, like it's one of those things where there's like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm constantly keeping an eye out to see if he slips up and reveals that actually he's still just the guy that wrote those papers for Chatham House all those years ago. But yeah, and like as for like the broader reform thing, like it like I know. Why doesn't he get someone like David Davison if he wanted Tories in there who understand how the cabinet works and what they're going to be up against? Why didn't he get like there are just better people that he could have got? And I don't think he gets some. I don't think David Davis likes him, but
David Davis would be one. Another one would be what's his name? The bloke who did all the reveals about the Boris cabinet. What's his name?
Shit, I can't remember.
He's done loads of reveals about that, and I think he's another one who doesn't particularly get on with Nigel Farage. A lot of people don't get on with Nigel Farage, apparently.
No, but then the thing is as well,
but don't go with people you get on with. Go with people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, like people point out, they go, oh well, you know, Farage and this person have tweeted about each other in the past, and it was negative, and now they're shaking hands and they're being friendly, and it's like. I think people would actually probably overlook that stuff if the pics of people that he was actually bringing in were actually decent.
It's like
Cummings is the bloke I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Adamant. Bring in people like Davis, Cummings. Obviously, don't get rid of Rupert Lowe. Just imagine if those three were in the reform side at the moment. Even alongside these crappy Tory cabinet ministers. Just imagine how much stronger a position Nigel Farage and reform would be in.
Well, he's playing. Sorry, he's playing the same thing the Tories did, when it's just, well, we can tack to the centre, and what are you lot going to do? Vote Labour? So that's it's simply the same thing.
I've seen some of if people are aware of like June Slater woman on Twitter. Like she's one of the worst in terms of because for example, some people were complaining about Layla Cunningham, which I mean, to be fair, her children were all like blonde hair and blue eyed, so it's a bit weird. And I thought she was a Muslim convert, but anyway, she's Egyptian, if I remember correctly. And to be fair, there was a fair cause of complaint where people were like, well, can't we get an Englishman? Like, can't we get someone actually natively born English as a mayor war candidate? And then when June Slater was asked about it, she was like, well, we've had white Englishmen in charge of this country, like Keir Starmer, and look how well that's gone for us. I was just like, oh, I can hate the boomers.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to what you were saying, Mitch, about Birmingham and people like Amjad Chowdhury, I just want to give you an anecdote. Before, like in the 2000s, do you know where the Muslims congregate outside the Bullring? I'm sure it was Amjad Chowdhury who was trying to convert me into Islam.
It's like there was a Muslim thing in my town a few months back where it was like everyone in like a stall, and I saw a couple of gingers, of course, talking to them. So
yeah. What is it with the gingers? Have you seen that guy?
Hey, calm down, guys. My boy was ginger when he was born. He's not now. His hair got dark.
Well, I don't know. The ginger question still needs answering, though. Like,
it's a
serious problem.
But my son had really ginger hair when he was born, but he got darker the older he got, and it's now kind of brownish, I guess. So yeah,
it's the same as my brother.
And he's also got a beard because he's a Navy sailor. So
is it a ginger beard?
No, it's a brown beard now, man.
Okay.
I
think it's just
he's also 6'2" and looks quite good in a Fleet Air Arm officers.
Like the only ginger.
He did quite well when he was based in America in terms of cheap babes. So
the only ginger I know of who never turned Muslim is Richard Lionheart. Like that's the only ginger I can think of who never turned Muslim.
The only one. Yeah,
and you know that's a bit ridiculous, don't you, Mitch? In that there's been thousands of Scots and English and Welsh people who were ginger who didn't turn Muslim. But anyway, never mind.
Well, I think it's the only one that comes to mind anyway, like that.
But you're just thinking of media stuff, all right? Not general people.
I think it's just.
And I actually have a slight weakness for redheaded women. Some of them are damn cute, I gotta say.
Yeah, women carry it well. Yep. Very well.
Yeah.
A woman with red hair and green eyes, that can be damn cute. But yeah, look, I think the point we're making here is that you could get people like Cummings and Davis and others who easily would join reform if they were given the least encouragement to do so. But then you've also got to look, as William mentioned before he left us, because he's got to go to work tomorrow. But William mentioned that Jacob Rees-Mogg, who sits at the centre of the old style, so-called air quotes Conservative Party, who is entirely in favour of reform these days, which should tell you something. You know, it really should tell you something.
Yeah, the other guy I'll keep an eye on is that Michael Gove. I'm a spectator. Like that. I mean, he's like the little finger of the Tory party, and like
100, Mitch, 100% true. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and for example, you know, if you look at Is Britain Broken, like where he's talking to that, what's her name, Madeline Grant, I think her name is, and it's like, well, he's saying like, oh, he is broken, and you know. But I said, like, he does massage in a Tory way, and it's kind of like, well, and you can imagine, it's like the other Tory defections. I think that's Andrew Rosindell, which I don't particularly mind Andrew Rosindell because I mean he's the kind of, I mean the only objection I've seen about him is he keeps wrestling on about, well, the Chagossians don't like this Chagosian. Well, I don't give a damn with the Chagossians. I care about the strategic stuff. That's the only objection I've seen of him. The other thing is
100%. I never give a shit about the Chagossians. Well, I don't care about the Chagossians at all.
Yeah, and the other thing is, well, I mean, the main thing he's known for was he wants St. George's flags on every street corner, and it's just very sort of like red meat stuff for like sort of a right wing base, which I don't. I mean, you know, you can have your opinion of it. I don't think of his defection as being troublesome, really. It just seems natural because he doesn't belong to the Tory party. He's quite a bit more of a red meat patriot kind of guy. Just like,
but but Mitch didn't. I don't know if it was Thrarium or Mercian. Didn't either of those guys turn around and say, you know, yeah, some of these more dissident Conservative backbenchers, yeah, of course you're going to take those guys, but Nigel Farage seems to be taking in most of so-called air quotes Boris Johnson's cabinet at the moment.
Yeah, I think like the only because it's like, yes, I'm trying to think of like who else in my cabinet, because I mean
Noe Sahaway, is that again named Noe Sahaway one? That was like, oh my god.
I did see some cope when he was in from some of these reform cultists going, it doesn't mean he's an MP, he's just joined the party. Nope, he's getting in a cabinet position, obviously.
Either that or he's getting an advisory role because the thing is they're saying experience, and I'm like, okay, their experience at being complete fuck ups or just being complete traitors. Why do you know? It's like I don't know. It's like when It's like, for example, if someone were to say, "Oh, well, Putin doesn't really have," like, if you were to say, "I don't know," let's say, I'm trying to think of a historical example. It'd be like, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, my mind's going blank. But anyway, like, the thing is, there's not really much point appealing to experience because from our politicians the past 30 years, if not much longer, certainly for most of the post-war period, they've just been complete failures or just malicious actors.
100. Someone said it in the chat, Godfrey Bloom. Godfrey Bloom should be in reform. Why is he not? He doesn't like reform, and he sure don't like Nigel Farage. But he should be.
Yeah. I've seen I don't want to name names, but there's the guy from the Worcester Club, not the guy who's getting named, not the H guy, but the guy in charge of it. Who I remember, like, he was like had a scathing response once about like, oh well, these people are just like all irrelevant, they're all just like feeding off a trough, slot feeding, and you know, oh, they're all just like jealous people of Farage. And I'm like, even so, if you have, let's say, 100 people who all detest you or they all have only bad things to say of you in retrospect, it doesn't matter like how successful you are, it kind of tells a bad story about you.
Mitch, everyone has a few people who don't like them, right? But, you do, I do, everyone on this panel does. But if nobody likes you, there's generally a reason.
Yeah, that's the thing. Where are Farage's allies that he can call on right now? Very, very slim pickings for him there. And that's more telling than having enemies.
It's like you've got Godfrey Bloom, Stephen Wolfe. You've got the old UKippers from I don't know, when I was an infant, who also don't have much good to say of them. You've got I mean, how many people in UKIP haven't joined Reform, or I mean, Stephen Wolfe, for example, he's a lawyer guy working with Restore, so that's why, because he was with the Lotus for a short while, if I remember correctly, and it's just a matter of it's one of the things where Jeremy Clarkson also, I've seen he's been a bit critical of Reform, mainly because he's saying, well, he's invoking the whole idea of, well, does he trust that Farage will remain 100% consistent on immigration? Because, Americans have quite a bit of trouble, as mentioned earlier. And how do we know Farage will stick to it? Because even as Dominic Cummings would say, you need a team around you. Well, you do have someone like Zia Yusuf, but Zia Yusuf, at times, he feels like a court eunuch. It feels more like an attack dog. Because the minute that someone like January can come along and join the party, Zia's views are completely rolled over.
In my opinion, the Reform Party is setting themselves up to be the Tory Party. I know, water's wet. What I mean by that is they're going to be focused on sort of finance, the finance. They're going to be the finance party. So I think Reform are trying to get themselves some global connections to make all the trade deals. That's why they're filling the cabinet as full as many brown people as they possibly can. So when they inevitably make the trade deal with India, which will include having Indians imported in, because apparently India doesn't like their population one little bit, and all the rest of it. That is what, and I think, Nigel, it's a twofold thing. It's revenge against the Tories for being rejected in the first place. And it's also, I think I can do the finance thing better than the Tories. I don't think it's got anything to do with.
So you think Mercian, you think it's kind of like Thatcherism Mark II, basically?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Totally. A browner Thatcherism. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he give, like, as long as. I don't know what metrics Nigel Farage will use, but let's say GDP. As long as GDP is up, I think he used a different metric than GDP, if I'm honest. But it will be a metric such as GDP. As long as that's up, I don't think he'll care.
But Farage talks all the time about the Commonwealth and all the rest of it. All right, and I want to make something really clear on this stream. I always talk on this stream about the old Commonwealth, capital O, capital C, right? And this was a historic thing. And the old Commonwealth was Great Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and back in the day, it included South Africa. That was the old Commonwealth. Nobody else was, not India, not anywhere else. The old Commonwealth was the white Commonwealth. And that's the Commonwealth we support on this channel, or that I support on this channel anyway.
Oh, yeah. That reminded me of because I remember, I think it was Bloomberg who interviewed him. Saw it on a video, and I remember he said, "Well, we want to make deals with we want to make deals outside of Europe," and he mentioned India specifically. And he said, "We're thinking, well, first off, I mean, it's like 10 years ago, people was talking he said about doing a trade deal with India during Brexit, which I didn't think much of at the time, but that's because that's before we understood India as a massive crap hole it is now in our minds. But nowadays, it's like,
well, no, not in our minds, Mitch. I mean, literally, India is a shithole. Literally.
Yeah, but like you just have facts like 10, 15 years ago, people thought of India as this massively spiritual place, and now it's just like now everyone just sees a shithole, and everyone knows the truth of it.
Yeah, Indians getting on the internet has been disastrous for them.
Yeah, so I mean, when I just thought about him shooting stuff in the foot slowly a bit, because everyone knows. Because I mean, Suella Braverman says that she vetoed the idea of a trade deal between Rishi Sunak's government and India, because India wanted an open border for them. Because the thing is, India's breed a lot of rabbits, and they want to offset their population onto the likes of us for twofold reasons. It alleviates their labour market issues because their economy.
And they get loads and loads of money sent back to India to Indians. But
yeah, and it's like someone might ask, like, if Farage were to get in, how long would he be around for? I mean, there are times where Farage seems to be a lot more mature around, like, saying, for example, he doesn't want to do massive tax cuts straight away, doesn't want to destabilise things straight away. But then other times, he'll just have like these like snakes from a toilet.
Minor issue, Mitch. Minor issue. Everything outside of mass immigration is a secondary issue, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, if you're a patriotic British guy today, everything is about immigration, and everything is secondary to that. Because unless we get that right, none of the rest will matter.
It fixes so much, though, doesn't it? The whole immigration thing, like even down to house prices, taxing. Like, I can't think of
car insurance,
crime. I can't think of what it won't fix at this stage.
Yeah. Mercy, 100%. It's going to fix low wages. It's going to fix high accommodation and housing prices. It's going to fix most of the crime story. Absolutely 100%, mate. Yeah. Those things will get directly fixed by stopping mass immigration and reversing it. But everything else, and we talked on this stream earlier about reindustrialization. Those things you can only do if you stop mass immigration.
Yeah, it's like,
and then you can also look at things like giving real British people real incentives to get married and have families and have children.
That never works. That never works. But what would help is just having a place that they feel like is home again, I think.
And also Tharium, if you're a young man, say you're you or Mercian or Adaman or Mitch, and you're a young dude, and you can actually afford to buy a house, and you've got a job where you can afford to buy a house, then you're much more likely you are going to meet some nice girl, get married, and have kids.
I think the main issue with the birth rates is basically the way our economy works and all the incentives is basically, it's like, but a new statistic came out that it's something like more girls are born these days than boys because everyone just knows the way the system works. It's feminism. So I think you'd have to crush your feminism, like you have to just completely crush it, and B, you'd have to actually rewire the economy so that instead of women getting paid more, it's men that get paid more. Because you can't have a situation where women are out earning men. That is exactly the same problem having South Korea, where
you shouldn't have a situation where more women than men are going to university either. But I mean, but you can't tackle those problems unless you tackle the fundamental problem, which is going to destroy Britain quite quickly, which is demographic replacement.
Yeah. I mean,
in that sense, Steve Laws is entirely correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a single issue voter now, and it is just who's going to make my people survive. That's it. I don't care. Raise taxes if you're gonna, but if you're gonna get rid of all the foreigners, fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like Peter McCormack, for example. I mean, he's gone off reform because I don't know. Perhaps I'm being harsh and calling him a man-child, but it's like he basically says that he doesn't want to vote reform because they're not promising to cut taxes straight away on first minutes of power, and it's like, well, no, because that's what Liz Truss did, and she got turfed out. If I was in power, for argument's sake, I wouldn't do anything that radical until the media are lockstepping with me. B, we're shipping the immigrants back because they literally just vote for everyone hate anyway, and you also have all of our guys embedded in the civil service and all other structures. After that, after you've consolidated power and started shipping the foreigners, that's when you can start getting onto like really boring sort of admin detail about what your tax rate is, or how often the bins get emptied or whatever. Like it's
100% agree with that, Mitch. There's a number one issue which will have, as Mercian correctly said, big time effects on several issues below that, and then you go into other details that you need to change. Look, I think we're mostly agreed on this. Adam, and any final thoughts on this subject?
Nah. No. It's I mean, the thing is, there's lots of people that were like the on the smarter end of the reform cultist band were saying stuff like, oh, you know, they're keeping their powder dry until it comes closer to election time. They are mega base. Trust us, guys. And it's like, okay, could they also just not torch themselves before the next election? That would also be a good move. I think.
As I said, the Steve Ennington interview was like my what the hell are they doing? Nigel Farage did not need to say that. No one pressured him.
No,
he wasn't tricked into it. Plus
also, if he wanted to say mass deportations, I mean, if I could go to my local pub tomorrow night for argument's sake and just say to the lads, you know, if I were to say the P word, no one's gonna report me to the police. They're all just gonna agree with me. Like as soon as they know I'm safe to talk in, but they'll borderline Fed post around like some groups.
Well, the other thing, the other analogy is, imagine the Green Party being interviewed with someone like The Guardian or The Independent or an outlet like that, and then being asked the question is sort of like, well, what kind of green policy would you like? And them sort of saying fossil fuels, that's the future for our green thing, and then people going, what are you saying, Zach? You know that is just in my head. That's the exact same scenario that Reform did on
100% Mercy, and totally agree with you. Tharium, anything to say about this before we close?
I think we've gone over it. Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm sorry. All Reform need to do is be pro-real Anglo-Celtic British people. That's all they need to do. It's not complicated.
Well, if they want to fool people like us, shut up. Shut up and let the media speak for them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like the British shitlib class are literally the only hype men still out there for reform. Like,
yeah, I think that does. Like, I think their attacks, calling Farage is Hitler. You know, Farage is going to destroy the system that you hate so much. Oh, okay. This is winning votes, you know.
That's the only thing keeping Farage going at the moment. But I actually think that's being done on purpose, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
There is like the thing is like it's tricky because I think, but like people they really hate, they just ignore. And I think they do know that if they just don't give people attention, then that really hurts them. Whereas Reform are on everything, unlike the BBC and stuff now. So I don't know.
I think they're being pushed on purpose because
I know. Yeah, that's why I don't think they hate Reform all that much when they have them on everything.
Well, is this like the Trumpism thing where people are sort of saying that the establishment want Trump now, so they kind of let it happen. So the establishment have now taken on. I mean, I don't think, looking back, I don't think Reform were ever going to be this super base party. I mean, again, maybe their base wasn't. And me and Tharium interviewed people like Job West. There was definitely that element within the Reform Party, but they couldn't wait to excise these people from the party.
Yeah, I mean, me and you, we've heard the excuse of they need experience to get all the Boris cabinet in. And then they sort of criticize us, like mock us, going, "Oh, would you rather have Bob the plumber?" Yeah, I would
Yeah.
actually.
Anyone with any kind of business experience, definitely.
I trust Bob the plumber more than these proven traitors. Actually,
Bring
yeah.
Steve Laws in. I'd be very supportive for that.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if AI was still here with us, I think he probably would say he'd want back. He want Longshanks from Braveheart film, like dealing with the civil service at this point.
But anyone with any business experience, I would trust to run a country better than a politician.
Yeah.
But the
Like,
thing is,
you
as well,
imagine-
what experience of any of these Tory candidates who have joined Reform shown to have at outmaneuvering the civil service? Like, when have they ever actually succeeded at doing that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if we give them the benefit of the doubt, assume that they really do have good intentions, but they failed.
Yeah.
And you take an Elon Musk character that went into X and went, you're not doing anything, out. It's exactly what you need in the position of power in this country, or any country, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like one guy they had bringing to the party was a guy called Jonathan Gullis, who after he lost his seat in the last election, he couldn't get a job doing anything else. Like, he was just completely useless. And Reform welcomed him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we when we were talking to Job Westmead Mercian, he mentioned how I think it was in one place near there where it was a former Conservative during the 24 election, so it was held by the Conservatives, and he got beaten by I think Labour, and then rather than sticking with the Reform candidate who beat him, they took the Conservative back, who just lost. Why would you do that?
Yeah, but of course the thing is you've got all of these various figures, all these internal Tory figures that joined Reform quite early on, and they're all essentially just bringing like their mates over and like known quantities from their perspective. So there's like a nepotism angle to it as well.
Yeah.
With Jacob Rees-Mogg cheering them on from the sidelines. And Jacob Rees-Mogg is totally loyalist, air quotes conservative. I don't think he'll ever join Reform, but he's encouraging all his mates to go over because it's the Tory by Mark II, and it just is. And that is not going to solve any problem in Britain. Look, next general election, I'm probably going to hold my nose and vote Reform because I see people in the chat saying, "Oh, yeah, well, you've got no choice." You kind of don't have any choice because who are you going to vote for? You're not going to vote Conservative. You're certainly not going to vote Labour, Greens, or Lib Dems. If you're a nationalist, patriotic British person, you are going to end up voting Reform. But I worry a bit that William is right, and a coalition of our enemies will win against them because of how
in Germany, didn't it?
Yep, because of absolutely, Mercy, but because of how weak Farage and Reform are at the moment in being pro-Anglo-Celtic British, which is all they need to be, really. But also, there isn't anyone else to vote for, and all I can hope is that, you know, if the two-party system gets broken, maybe something will change. Because the black pillars amongst us, and I've seen one or two in the chat, will say, well, there's no political solution. Okay, so then there's going to be violence, is there? Because that's the only other solution.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't want there to be violence, particularly. I really don't. But, you know, whatever. I just think Farage and Reform are making an enormous mistake. All they need to be is a real British Anglo-Celtic party. That's all they've got to do. It's not that complicated, and they will sweep.
Oh, you're expecting way too much there, Duke. Your standards are just
I know, mate. I know. I'm aware of that, Almond, but it's not complicated, though, is it?
Yeah, I've said this to Reform cultists for the past year or so, since I've been around all these Reform cultists, and this is all I've said to them. if reform is the future of this country, i.e., they're going to fix everything, and it's that important to us, all they need to do is do nothing. They can literally take the Lib Dem Ed Davey voting campaign, let the media do the heavy lifting for them. You know, we're sold. I'm going back to my old thinking on this to say this. We're sold on the idea that the base. All they need to do is shut up, because the more they speak, the more they just you see their shit library come through.
Yeah, I mean that Danny Kruger interview with Winston Marshall. Oh, that was so bad. When he's just going on for about 10 minutes about how Afghans have every right to England. I couldn't. I'm just not. I'm in the group. I'm just not voting for reform. I don't care anymore.
Why do Afghans have any right to England? We fought.
Oh well, because then he went on for
4 wars against them, for fuck's sake. Why do they have any right to England?
Well, he justified it by saying England has always been civil nationalist. Okay, that's just wrong. We're one of the most pure ethnic groups there are. And then a lot of stuff about how, well, what would Jesus do and all this crap. Oh, it's so tiresome.
How many times have I said civil nationalism is an American concept?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep, 100%, Mercian. Civnat is not British. Brits have always been ethno-nats, always have been. In 1956, I think, there were less than 100,000 non-British people in Britain.
1950, the census is 99.9% white British.
Yeah, exactly.
This is, we are getting into, basically perfect ethno state territory there, and it wasn't a thing. No one thought about this. It's just always been that way.
My dad was serving in Egypt in the Suez Canal Zone in 1951 with the British Army, and he saw some King's African Rifles guys there, right? And the way that used to work is they'd put a British private in charge of a King's African Rifle sergeant in charge of his King's African Rifle working party, right? But the first time my dad saw a black guy in England was in London in about 1954 or 55. That was the first time he'd ever seen a black person in England.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell the story about when my dad was born in 1955? He told me the story that the black person he first met. I think he was 10 or 11. Apparently, he saw a black person and started screaming.
Yeah,
like he saw a devil or something.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't just bump into them, but
No.
Anyway, on that note, I need to get off because I was going to get off at 11. I've gone way past that.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm heading off too.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. Good night, Duke. Talk to you all later.
No.
Adam is a working man. He has to go get a reasonable hour so he can get up early in the morning and go to work. But yeah, no, look, Reform are just making an enormous mistake. The public are way to the right of them.
I speak to a lot of Reform cultists, and they're adamant that they need to strive towards the centre. The centre ground is where the battle is won, and I'm like, it depends where.
But Mercian, that's what the so-called conservatives always said, which is why they always went left and left and left and left through their whole time.
Well, that's where's the centre? Because 100 years ago, we're in the centre.
Well, yeah, no, actually, 100 years ago, we're probably left centre.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, absolutely right. But the centre always goes left, basically, and that's just the way it is. I mean, you can see people arguing, including people like Academic Asian, etc., that Stalin was actually on the right, even though he was a communist. But but it's just nonsense. The general public in Britain is way to the right of Farage at the moment. I reckon the general public is much closer to Steve Laws than Nigel Farage. I really do.
From the people I've spoke, I mean, like, I only have the work. I mean, me and Mitch probably know lots of working class people in the Midlands, and if they're white, I'm sure they're a lot closer to Steve Laws. I don't know where these reform cultists are getting this. We need to be on the centre group. And who are the centre exactly? Because are we talking about Guardian East? Is that point? Who are the centre?
Yeah. I mean, look, and if you're talking about reform cultists, I recently found I'm still on a Discord with Harriet. I fortunately don't have to speak to him, but he is on the Discord. And Harriet is a leftist. He's just a leftist. He is. All right?
Yeah.
He is. I'm sorry. He's not a centre guy. He's a leftist. But
I agree.
Whatever.
Yeah, I would say with Stalin, it's a matter of like, I can see where he says about Stalin being somewhat right wing in terms of, because for example, he was anti-abortion. He wasn't a big fan of, because Lenin and Trotsky, they brought in all the woke stuff that we think of nowadays. Lenin and Trotsky were doing that kind of stuff back in the 20s. I mean, Stalin put into it. So it's one thing. I'd say it's nuanced. Like, Stalin was a communist, but in terms of like social roles, he was quite a bit more traditional than Lenin and Trotsky.
Except he would kill your wife and you and everyone else if he didn't like you. But yeah, fair enough. But yeah, no, look, guys, we've gone way over 2 hours. We're 2.75 hours now. So yeah, let's just check if we got any entropy chats. We do have one from Garen, who sends us $5 US. Thank you very much, Garen. And he just says hello, so there's no comment to that one. But thank you, Garen. That's much appreciated, mate. Yeah.
Can't argue with the donation.
Someone was. No. Listen, I spend $200 a month on this channel. I sure don't make $200 a month on this channel.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, so
thank you for the donation.
Exactly right, mate. Exactly right. That's my view entirely. But yeah, I don't know. I think Nigel Farage would have an easy road to victory if he took in people like Cummings, Davis, Godfrey Bloom, and just said, you know what, this is basically a real British pro-Anglo-Celtic party. And I reckon he would walk the next election entirely easily.
This is my point. If and I'll pick on Rupert, I don't think he's going to do it because he's already said he doesn't want to split the vote for whatever that means, right? Which is probably very honourable of him. But if he were to, I don't know, take out, join Advance or UKIP, or bring Advance and UKIP together and any other ancillary party, and then say, do exactly what you said, would reform stand a chance?
No, and my argument with Rupert Lowe, and I've said this quite a few times over the last month, I guess, I'd like Rupert Lowe to make a party, and I don't care if it's Advance or something else, but make a party, select 15 really good candidates, and just go in 15 seats that they have good chances of winning, concentrate everything there, and say to reform, don't run against our guys, we won't run against yours. Right? I don't think Nigel Farage would listen to that because I think Nigel Farage
No,
is a bit of
I
an
think that's
arse.
far too much ego. He has
Yeah,
far
yeah,
too
I
much
think
ego.
he's an asshole in some respects. I
Yeah,
do.
and I think the only reason he did it in the past is because he didn't have the cards at the time. Now he
Well,
does.
yeah, you remember when he stood down all these guys against Boris Johnson? And then
Yeah.
we got the Boris wave. And of course,
Exactly.
Boris is not even his name, it's Alexander, but never mind. But, whatever. But yeah, that's what I want Rupert Lowe to do. I want Rupert Lowe to say, you know what? This is a real British Anglo-Celtic political party. And if you vote for us, we'll try and look after your rights and your country. And I think he'd probably get at least 7 or 8 of those MPs elected, and they could go a long way to keeping a reform government honest. They really could.
But even outside of Rupert Lowe, I sometimes wonder why a party like Advance UK and UKIP don't just join forces.
No,
because
yeah, Mercy. I watched a video the other day by who's the guy who runs crikey, the half black guy. I can't remember his name. I do like him.
But Ben Habib of Advance.
No, the other guy.
Oh right, okay.
I can't remember his name. I do like him. He's a nice bloke, but he's half white, half West Indian.
Nick Tenconi of the UK Independence Party.
No.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I know which one you mean. You mean the
Yes.
one of my favourite name of a right wing party, the Heritage Party.
That's the one. Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
the
one.
Heritage Party is the best name out of any of them. Better than Reform. Better.
Right.
That's
David Curtin is the guy we're talking about. Yes. Thank you. And I like David Curtin, all right? I am not as extreme as Steve Laws, and I would never chuck out people like David Curtin or Ben Habib. I would never chuck those guys out. But I will just say this. David Curtin did a video about why don't we cooperate with other parties. And he said he has offered to cooperate with some other parties, but they never get back to him. And of course, he's never heard a thing from Nigel Farage. But there are so many egos involved in this. It's like herding cats. It will never happen. And this is the problem. But if you vote for one of these tiny little parties, you're just wasting your vote because it doesn't go anywhere.
Because even if you get one MP in, it's one MP in against the rest of
the
establishment.
One would be good, but because of the British first past the post system, you've got to get so many votes to just get one,
But this is what I mean. It's sort of like it's such a shame that I mean I would even sort of say, well, I don't want Ben Habib to. I do like Ben Habib, but I don't know who would want to. Well, Rupert Lowe would be the best man, but outside of Rupert Lowe, I don't know who I want to front it. But I like the name Heritage. Heritage, that's a good, strong name, right?
Yeah. But no,
what's left of UKIP? Yeah, what's left of UKIP must have something left in it. An advance of cut the kind of imagination. You put all those forces together, you might have something.
If you could, Mercy, but I really don't. I spent 3 years, I think, saying that all these little parties needed to make just an informal alliance during the election so that they didn't run against each other, right? Just an informal alliance.
Yeah.
Not join each other or anything like that, but just so that, there wasn't a heritage party running against the UKIP guy or
Yeah, so there's only a choice of one right winger. Yeah.
Yes.
And then do the coalition against the left. Yeah.
I spent 3 years advocating that, and it never happened, and it's never going to fucking happen because of all those little egos, mate. It's never going to happen.
But
all those giant
get more
egos on
though.
people with no power, but it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, Mercian.
Unfortunately.
But you know what? Rupert Lowe could come along and he could target about 15 seats with really good candidates, like well-known, good guys. And he's got some good younger guys under him in Restore Britain who could be good candidates. But will that happen? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'd love it to, but I don't know if it will.
If nothing else, it'd be exciting, and it would give UK politics a shot of adrenaline. I know that much.
Yeah. I look, but I'm not hoping for much from Farage. I'm really not. And I think William had a point in his video that if Farage carries on the way he's going at the moment, he could actually lose this next election, which should be a walk-in for him.
Oh yeah,
but
it's like I said, he just needs to. He honestly, he could take their Davy politician, sort of like watch me go water skiing. He can literally do that, but no, he has to run his mouth.
Yep, and talk about, oh yeah, we need more Indians, and yeah, how many Muslims can I get to join us? And yeah, let's have every single failed Tory cabinet minister we possibly can in our party. Yeah, absolutely, all good, Nigel. Fucking stupidity. It really is just fucking stupidity. And the British public are way to the right of Nigel Farage at the moment. When I say the British public, I don't mean the mainstream media, like, the biased brainwashing corporation. I don't mean the Westminster bubble, and I don't mean the immigrants and the lefty liberal lefties. I don't mean those people. I mean the vast majority of the real Anglo-Celtic British public. They're way to the right of Farage. They just are.
The working class certainly are, and I think the middle class is starting to turn as well.
Well, yeah, as they get poorer, Mercian, that'll happen.
Well, it's not just poorer, but the whole hotel thing is happening in their neighbourhoods. It's sort of like,
yeah. More and more little towns and villages are getting this diversity, in air quotes, thrust upon them. 100%.
Yeah. It's kind of quite. I mean, I don't mean any ill will against any native English person, but the middle class did turn its nose down at the working class when they were reporting problems with all this diversity. So there is a bit of catharsism here from my point of view. It's sort of like, you're seeing it.
Who got the diversity first, Mercian? Was it the guys in the little villages and the leafy suburbs, or was it the guys in the inner cities? Well, we know the answer to that, don't we?
Yeah, and they're splitting out the inner cities. They're spreading out now. I mean, the suburbs around the West Midlands are starting to take the hit, and I live in one of the suburbs, and let's put it this way: when I went to school in the suburb, and I still live in the same village that I've always lived in, because I'm very much a little Englander. I don't like being out of my comfort zone. That I know of 3 diversity people in my year, and I was born in 1984, so we were talking about the mid-90s. I reckon it is now over half of that school's population now, from what I've seen.
So imagine what your village is going to look like in 15 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, 100. Mitch, anything you wanted to say, mate?
Nothing I can think of. I mean, I said earlier, I'm probably just going to renew my Reform membership, mainly because I'm growing tired of waiting for Rupert Lowe to do anything, and I'm being pragmatic.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything you guys would like to plug?
Well, hopefully my channel will start up properly. I'd like anyone who hasn't to check out my interview with Job West. That's very much worth your time.
Yeah, I'm sub to your channel, Mercian, so yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. Anything, Mitch?
I don't know how to execute, but like let's say because you got Splendid Isolation streams about British history. I've been floated on the idea of doing my own like sort of history streams on my own channel, but it'll be like non-British history stuff. For example, I might look up American Civil War and
Cool,
American
mate.
Revolutionary
Cool.
War.
If you do that, Mitch, I'll happily help publicize it for you for sure.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, like for example, because it's like there's Apostolic Majesty. He's done a stream on Robert E. Lee, but I can't find any streams from guys our way in terms of like other guys like Stonewall Jackson or William T. Sherman or
Stonewall Jackson would definitely be worth a stream for sure.
Yeah, I remember there's Nathan Bedford Forrest who I know because the thing was he's controversial because of stuff to do with the KKK after the Civil War, but like he's one of those guys where it's one of the things where he was quite an educated guy. He was probably one of the best cavalry commanders certainly of that century, but that part is overlooked because as I said like the KKK stuff he did after the war, and it's a sad shame because he's a very underrated guy in that sense. And everyone, and even to a point where the union.
I've never said the KKK were bad, but that's just me. But
I just don't know anything about them. I've got a book called Reception and Reconstruction, and from what I've heard about it, basically Reconstruction. A lot of people who are like leftists, they try and sugarcoat it. Oh, well, this was put off inequality to the blacks, and when no, it was like carpetbaggers and like blacks bullying the Southerners after their defeat. And
don't forget, originally the really racist American politicians were almost all Democrats. But there we go.
Yeah. The other thing that also irks me off about American history is a lot of leftists also they think that all abolitionists were like what all these like left-wing egalitarians, and like no, they weren't. A lot of them they just hated blacks so much that we just wanted to get rid of slavery and ship them all back to Africa. Like Abraham Lincoln.
If only they had done that. But yeah, whatever. All right, thanks, Mitch. If you do that, let me know, and I'll happily help publicize your channel.
Yeah, like the bit that irked me because I know Apostolic Majesty and Beta Britannia, like they've got their own sort of graphic design, how they do like their thumbnails. I'm trying to think how do I do that because I mean, so like, for example, I can just imagine. If I were to do a stream about Nathan Bedford Forrest, I'd have to call it The Devil in the Saddle, because that's what he was called in his lifetime. And then, for example,
Listen, I'm utterly convinced that because my thumbnails are all Royal Navy ships, people think this is a historical naval channel. And when I first started it, I thought that was an advantage because of YouTube. YouTube was even worse when we first started 5-6 years ago than it is now. But I'm just going to keep my naval ships.
Yeah, it's like the weird thing about me is like I don't know, like there are times where like I don't know I can be very anti-American, but then in terms of I'm naturally drawn to American history, especially like the Civil War. And
I have noticed that you and Farium can be quite anti-American. Yes,
but I've got like a very love-hate relationship with America because it's like,
I know, mate. I know, and Aubrey thinks you're a nice guy, and she likes Farium too. So there we go.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. I would sometimes play us out of a tune now, but I'm giving up on this because it's just so fucking difficult to do and it lags so much. And I don't know if that's StreamYards or whatever it is. But if you want to listen to some good naval, military, and folk music from Britain, Europe, America, go and check out our good friend Patriotic Archive. He's got a great channel. Apart from that, we will see you on Wednesday for a history stream, and I don't know what we're doing yet, but it will be something interesting, you can be sure. And thank you to my guests, Aubrey Alley, Adaman, Mitch, Mercian, Tharium, and also William Granville. There'll be links to a couple of those things below later on. And in the meantime, do not let the bastards grind you down. See you later, guys.